back. I I don't know how to start this thing, but yeah, we're welcome to Cinema Boulevard. My name is Daniel McGregor Hoyer.
And I'm Matthew Huh. We used to do this a long, long time ago in the far, far away time of the 2020s. Um,
Really?
I mean, it's 2026 right now, so yeah, we decided to resurrect this because we did something similar back in our youth. So
Yeah,
we just wanted to talk about films and better to do in a long form discussion. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, we're at a radio station, KRUI. Big shout out to them. We probably had like about an hour to record initially, which that they're obviously a radio station, so they had to have their other programming there as well. So we decided that yeah, we're gonna do a podcast 3 years down the road. As of right now, it's cold outside here in Dallas, unless you've been living under a rock. This whole country, as of today, January 26th, has been hit with the Arctic blast, and my toes are cold.
I've been snowed in, well, sort of snowed in, but yeah, I'm over here on the East Coast, and the world basically just shut down for the past 2 days. So yeah, didn't really do much. So it's nice to be inside, warm, and just talking about stuff in front of my computer.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I know it's been a bit because the last time we both saw each other was our actual graduation. We graduated from University of Iowa back in
Yeah,
2023. It's been
yeah. So that was the first time we saw each other in person. We've like had conversations here and there online, but it's obviously not the same as an in person meetup. Maybe one day we'll reunite once again. But
it's and yeah, we met it was pandemic. It was over at the Sundance Film Festival. Well, not actually at the Sundance Film Festival, but it was
was that when we met for the first time?
yeah, in person at least, because I joined
Oh,
Bijou relatively late in my college career. Which Bijou is the film org. Obviously big shout out to them.
yeah. If you're in the Iowa City area, please support the Bijou Film Board and film scene. By the way, probably the best movie theater in the Midwest.
Yeah,
So
most
yeah.
definitely. I mean, big shout out to Andrew and Tommy. Obviously, big influences, in that community. But yeah, like we were at the Sundance Film Festival, and film scene was like a satellite location. That's where we met in person for the first time, and then I learned about banter a little bit down the road. I believe my first episode was we were talking about Spider-Verse, and then I think think I met you the episode after actually because you were not available. But we were talking about
I think I remember that now.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was like
you came on a bit later.
it was the really bad Disney live action Mulan remake. So
Mm,
yeah,
yeah, that kickstarted a series of long rants about the Disney remakes, which we talked about on Bijou Banter. Not all the time, but we had a pretty good episode. I remember for Mulan, and then we also compared the original Pinocchio with the wonderful 2022 remake.
yeah.
So
I wasn't.
that was fun.
Oddly enough, I wasn't there for that one. I was
Oh, you
chasing.
weren't?
I
Oh,
was chasing an ROTC across the state of Iowa for the Daily Island. So it's like I ended up watching Pinocchio and it just like I took an inspiration from Shea Rose on Letterboxd and just pasted the Wikipedia description for that review. Because
oh,
I
fair.
didn't I had no thoughts and I did not like it. But yeah, so yeah, we're back in business. I don't think our audience was big back then, but we were around the Iowa City community. And now we're in separate places. Obviously, I'm in the South, and you're in the Northeast,
Mhm.
and it's running back up, and we are doing Cinema Boulevard now. So Bijou Banter, I mean that's still part of Bijou, but we're Cinema Boulevard. Kind of got the name from maybe a little bit from Sunset Boulevard.
From Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard, and I kind of like thought of the name just because we're in big cities, and I think it's a very very good name. And I'm surprised nobody has used it. Like I've looked on Spotify, Apple, everywhere. I mean, unless I'm under a rock somewhere, I was like, I'm really surprised nobody like used it. Um, so yeah,
Maybe someone considered it when they were thinking about a podcast and then they just never followed through.
yeah,
So
yeah, for sure.
unfortunately, it's one of those situations where you snooze, you lose. But
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's very interesting. I mean, I see it's like, initially we thought about Below the Line because, we both love Bong Joon-ho's Parasite, and then I looked at it and it's like everybody has used that name already apparently. So it's
which I'm
like
surprised more people have used that than Cinema Boulevard, if I'm being totally honest.
yeah, it's wild. But yeah, the Cinema Boulevard. So initially how this is all gonna go. So we do talk about new releases every I would say every other week. So we're not gonna have like a weekly format, more bi-weekly format. And we'll talk about new releases, the stuff that has come out this year, and then also
Mm-hmm.
talk about films of the past. And we'll have a host rec at the end of every episode, and that we'll talk about for the next episode. So sort of taking inspiration from Adam Johnson, or YMS as most people know him, who runs the Sardonicast podcast with Alex, aka I Hate Everything, and um, Man Carrying Thing. Those guys have been big inspirations for this, and we're still gonna do our own thing, but I think it's good to kind of take the inspirations where they are, and we're happy to be doing this.
Yeah, I think it's just cool that the fact that we even got this off the ground is just nice because it's always one of those people always talk about like, oh, we should do a podcast and then just never get around to it, or what they do like 4 episodes and then life happens and just stop. So I hopefully we'll be able to continue this for a good while.
Oh yeah,
So
for
I
sure.
think I think we're gonna have a pretty good streak going where we pump out new episodes. So yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And looks like 2026 is gonna be a relatively stacked year for cinema. I mean, a lot of auteurs going to be coming out with some major releases. Spielberg, Nolan, Eggers. You're going to get a lot of heavy hitters. Eggers is having a film coming out this year, right?
I think it's like the very end of the year.
Yeah,
It
very
might be a
end.
Christmas release.
Yeah, I think it's the werewolf, right? But yeah, we're gonna have a lot of heavy hitters. But before we even talk about 2026 in film, we got to talk about 2025 in film. Last weekend, the Oscar nominations were announced
Hmm.
for the 98th Academy Awards. That is hard to believe that this show has been going on for almost 100 years at this point. But yeah, the Oscar nominations have just gotten announced, and let's just say the responses mostly positive, but
Mostly
definitely some
positive, yeah.
negativity in there.
Well, I mean that's every year, and when you follow the Oscar race every year, you notice a lot of specific trends that almost happen like clockwork. And no matter how good the quality of the films are, there's always bound to be something retroactively divisive, or people just backpedal. And I'm mostly talking about a certain website called Twitter, but yeah, overall, I think it's pretty great that this is like the first thing we're talking about. And it's pretty prescient timing too, because we never got to talk about 2025. And 2025, I don't know about you, I thought it was an incredible year for film.
Oh yeah,
Um, a part of me says that almost every year, but if I really sit and think about it, it's like everything. There was a lot of heavy hitters.
oh yeah,
We also had some not so good stuff as we do every year, but overall, it's like no. Looking at the lineup, I'm pretty satisfied. To tell you the truth, I don't have many complaints, but we could get more into that.
I mean, I might have some minor complaints, but I mean, it's just like how music publications this year were like pop music is dead, but cinema this year has been completely thriving, despite what Variety's been saying about box offices of certain films.
Well, they've stopped talking about that now that that one film is now the most nominated film of all time for the
Yeah,
Oscars.
that
So
is true, and potential maybe long overdue win for a certain auteur whose work has just been incredible throughout his entire career. But before we dive into anything, we're just going to go ahead and get started mentioning who the Best Picture nominations are. There is one big surprise that honestly you know, I wasn't actually like mad about, but we'll jump in. So the nominations for Best Picture are Bugonia, F1. That's the surprise nomination, by the way. Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. I know I've been seeing this picture. It usually happens around sports, but it's this picture of this meme of like the soldiers lining up behind the barricade, and then you have the guy in the clown suit. I think most of film
Oh,
Twitter thinks that's F1. um, that so yeah, F1 was the biggest surprise nomination. Although I could say I did see it coming.
yeah, it snuck up out of nowhere because when did that was a summer release and that just sort of like died out for a bit. I was following the race a lot and there were so many. There was a I would say about 80, not 80, that's too high. A good 70% of these noms were pretty much guaranteed. It was more the lower few where it was a bit you could take some here and there, and F1 was definitely I would argue the popcorn blockbuster of this year, even though we had a lot of big budget films that also evoked that similar spirit. And I like the film. I think it's a lot of fun, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it being here. I just find it interesting the response online because this is not necessarily the response that the film got when it was released. Uh, People seem to love it, not love it. Maybe that's a bit too strong of a word, but they liked it fine. And now people are saying it's like the. I don't think people are going as far to call it the Amelia Perez of this year, but some people are acting like that.
Yeah, like I don't
And
think F1 truly is a divisive film. I think generally speaking it's a very disposable blockbuster. I mean, and but it's still a really impressively made blockbuster. I think there is certainly a lot to like about with F1. And I don't really have much of an issue with it being here. I mean, I guess like the biggest thing I was hearing is like people are comparing it a lot to Top Gun Maverick where it sort of follows the same plotline, which makes sense since it is produced by Jerry Bruckheimer and directed by Top Gun director Joseph Kosinski. But yeah, I really don't have much of an issue with it here. I enjoyed my time in the theater watching it. I guess it compared to the other nominees, it's not quite as the biggest influence as the others, but I don't really have much of an issue with it being here, if I'm being honest.
no, you want. I think what qualifies a good lineup for Best Picture is balance and I guess diversity in terms of styles of film. I think F1 scratches that itch. And I'll just say this: I rather have this than Avatar, Fire and Ash, or Wicked for Good. So people complaining about F1 getting it's like, let's just be grateful that Wicked for Good is not on this list. So, or
Yeah.
quite frankly, on any nomination, any of the
Yeah, yeah,
or the categories,
complete
total
shutout.
snub.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of I saw the original Wicked show, which I like. I mean, I think it's a very good show for Broadway, but I do admit that the first half of the show was much better than the second half of the show. So I think people thinking this was already going to be a set in stone front runner, like, so we realized that, like, oh, okay. um.
It's not.
Yeah, I mean, but I think, we'll get to like surprises a bit later, but obviously there is a perennial front runner here, or two of them, I would say, maybe three. And these were probably the two biggest IMAX releases this year, at least domestically. I'm not sure how they were internationally. Um, and that is Ryan Coogler's Sinners, which broke the record for most Oscar nominations with 16. So in every category it could have gotten nominated for, it got nominated for, which is impressive. And of course, Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. Basically my number two and number one film of the year, both being the perennial frontrunners for Best Picture.
Yeah, it is insane. Like one battle after another was def. I'd say it's still the front runner. I know there's some people that say Sinners is, which I wouldn't. wouldn't be disappointed because that was also my second favorite film of the year. One Battle being number one, but based on the traction, like I think One Battle, it was like the fourth one of only four films in history to sweep the big four critics groups awards.
Yeah, that's
If I'm not
true.
mistaken, it
Yeah.
was like what, the National Board of Review, the New York Film Critics, the LA Film Critics, and the National Society of Film Critics. So just like a monumental run in terms of awards, and I don't think it's going to slow down here. I I don't know if Hamnet is still in high consideration, but that winning at the Golden Globes definitely helped its chances
Yeah,
after kind of slowing down a bit. Which, that good film too, but it's like when you have Sinners and One Bow After Another, which are far more interesting and engaging, it would be seen as a weak winner based on the lineup.
yeah, for sure. And there are some really well-deserved nominations here. I mean, I think I'm very happy that Train Dreams got in here. I think that is a
Yeah.
beautifully shot and haunting film. I mean, I personally, that's my front runner for best cinematography, but I think Sinners might get it. But who knows? I mean, Academy did what a few years ago when they awarded best sound to Zone of Interest over Oppenheimer. So there is potential that Train Dreams could do that in best cinematography. But we also got two not foreign language, international nominees. Foreign language is the wrong term to be using. I apologize. Yeah,
Yeah, the
really
more
more
outdated
outdated.
term.
But it's Sentimental Value from Joachim Trier, and The Secret Agent.
So one of the snubs I would say was the fact that it was just an accident to not get into the best picture or best director categories, which is a real shame because it is a really really great movie. It's international, so I'm glad it's not completely snubbed, unlike another international film, which we'll get into in a bit. I really love Sentimental Value a lot. I like The Secret Agent. Wasn't too crazy about it. I like the director. I'd seen Bacaro, I think is how you pronounce it, which is a decent film. Um, but it's a bit too slow for my taste, which I think is a I don't want to just say that a movie's like not great because it's slow, but it's an example where you can sense places to cut it down
Yeah, I
for the story to
yeah, I
tell.
still gotta see it. It's like thing about this town. It's like you don't get much of the international features on here. I mean, there is a theater downtown, but it's a little bit far from where I am. I'm hoping it can get somewhere near me. But Brazil's been really killing it and getting these international nominations. Like I mean, it is a very positive like film community. I've actually been around it because I think I'm Still Here when that came to Dallas. There was like a lot of Brazilians in my theater that were just completely blown away by it. So it's really awesome to see a community like that just really flourish in the film industry. But yeah, definitely still got to catch that. Otherwise, I
Oh, for
catched
for sure.
all nine of the nominees. So before the nominations were announced. But yeah, it's a great lineup. I mean, I'm not mad about F1, but I'm really happy that a lot of these films got nominated. I mean, obviously, still got to see The Secret Agent, but I'm very impressed that much of my favorite films of the year all got nominated for Best Picture. That is a really it makes me really happy. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a
Yeah,
single like dud here, which is rare to say. I would say in my opinion at least, I don't know if you might think differently. The closest would be Frankenstein, but even then, I wouldn't consider it a bad film at all. It was fine. I like parts of it, but also it seemed just a bit average in terms of execution. But I'm not surprised that's on here. That was considered a serious contender even from the start. So yeah, there's not a single bad film here,
yeah.
which is nice.
I'm sure not upset with it being nominated. So think yeah, I love all these. All right, we'll jump into Best Director here. And these are the DGA, almost close to the DGA 5. Only one got omitted, but that is going to be Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, Ho Chim Trier for Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners. Not a bad one among the bunch. Like Best Picture, this is a great list of nominees, but I think there is one clear front runner who has been pretty much overdue for this award, and that is Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah, very much agree. This is this not last. It was like 2 years ago when Nolan was in the running. It was about time that he got his win, and not to discredit the other filmmakers because these are all very worthy contenders. But when you compare it to One Battle After Another, it's like, yeah, there's a clear winner. I know some people are also arguing for Ryan Coogler as well, but if I had to pick between the two, it would be PTA.
Yeah, PTA is my front runner. I mean, if had One Battle After Another not come out this year, I could say it could be Ryan Coogler. And for the longest time, like between the release of Sinners and the release of One Battle After Another, Sinners is my favorite film of the year. And then One Battle After Another came, and then it just completely blew it out of the water. Which doesn't mean Sinners is bad. Sinners is still a great film. I enjoyed a lot. I mean, I'm very happy that it's getting a lot of this recognition this year and deserves it. But One Battle After Another, it's just there's something genuinely special about this film and how PTA like made that story work. I'm very happy about PTA getting this nomination and being the pretty much the front runner in this category.
Oh, for sure, and so much of it is his voice on in the film too. I think that's one thing that is apparent with every PTA film is that you could tell he made it, and with this one, he really just fires on all cylinders. It's the culmination of everything he's done throughout his entire career, and he's gonna do more great things too. Like he's not slowing down at this point.
Yeah, most
So
definitely. I'm very excited to see this award potentially go into his hands, and it looks like it will. I mean, the other nominees were great too. I mean, Chloe Zhao. I mean, I was very impressed with Hamnet. I wasn't much impressed with Nomadland when it came out. And I do appreciate like her craft and her the way she does it, but I think Hamnet like to me that to me I think her shot creation in Hamnet was a little bit better than Nomadland. So I'm very happy that she got in this. And I mean, she's not going to win, but I'm very happy about that. Josh Safdie, one half of the Safdie brothers, gets his first nomination. I know there was another film released by his brother called The Smashing Machine that got released this year, but Marty Supreme's been on a huge run for Josh Safdie, so very well deserved nomination. And if there was going to be a dark horse in this category, Ho Chim Trier for Sentimental Value would be that dark horse. That is the way he directed that film, and especially the homages to Bergman, like just beautiful. I'm very happy about him getting this nomination.
I find it very surreal that we're talking about how one of the Safdie brothers is now an Oscar-nominated filmmaker. That just seemed like something I would never thought I'd say. Like when you look at his entire career, it's like, wow, you're now nominated for an Oscar. That's great.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'm pretty happy about this whole list of nominees. I mean, I think PTA is obviously the big front runner, but to be honest, like there's not a single bad director here, or a badly directed film here. I think they've nailed it on all fronts here in this category. All right.
Yep.
Best
Yeah,
actor.
best actor.
Yeah, best actor. So we for best actor we have Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent.
I'll just say that out of all the categories for this year, this is probably the most ideal lineup. There's not they're all heavy hitters. Not a single weak link. There's not one sneak either, I would say. And there are other categories where there aren't any sneaks, but in terms of the caliber of talent, this is probably as perfect a lineup as you can make it. I really have no complaints.
Yeah,
So
it's a great list of nominees. I'm very happy about all these. Ethan Hawke, I'm really happy about. He gave a really good performance in Blue Moon. I don't think he's obviously going to get this award this year, but
Some people are saying there's some people that are arguing he could sneak up and pull a surprise win. I'm not buying it personally, but
yeah.
I can understand. He hasn't. I don't think he's won an Oscar
No, he
yet.
has, and he's been nominated 2 times. And he's a very good actor. I'm really enjoyed him in a lot of the stuff that he's been in, especially Linklater's work. I mean, it's clear that Linklater and Ethan Hawke have a really good thing going and have had a good thing going for the past 30 years or so. But I'm really happy that he got nominated here. But there is it's a clear front runner. It's going to be Timothy Chalamet. Um, I think there
Yeah,
could be a chance with DiCaprio and Wagner Moura, but I don't know. Timothy Chalamet's performance is just on another level in Marty Supreme.
yeah, and he's definitely working towards that. Like if you just see the press and the marketing he's doing, it's clear he wants it. And I know some people argue like it's a his quote unquote behavior during this campaign season is a bit overbearing and obnoxious. But I'm like, no, he knows how to play into a crowd. Like he knows how to reach out to that demographic of young people that these ceremonies really don't cater to. It's predominantly just like older people and then people like us who care. So he really knows how to garner that attention in a good way, and I would say he earned it,
Oh
or he's
yeah,
gonna earn it.
yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's probably the most commanding performance I've ever seen from him. I mean, I liked Call Me by Your Name and Complete Unknown. I did like him in those films, but I didn't feel like he commanded my attention as much as he did in Marty Supreme. And like Complete Unknown, it's like he's playing Bob Dylan, and that is being Bob Dylan's already a tough task just because the guy is so ambiguous, is so unopen. So there wasn't really much of a way like Timothy Chalamet could really create a commanding role out of that. But with Marty Supreme, it's just like every single second, it's just like he is just fully like going ham as this character. It's crazy.
It works better to his strengths too, because I think he really knows how to put on a show. Like he does quiet characters well, but I think he's more at it when he's being a bit more commanding and a bit like louder, I guess.
Yeah, and I think also like having Josh Safdie's direction really helps a lot in the end. Just because I think Safdie's style direction really does help with the performances a lot. And you saw from Good Time and Uncut Gems. It's like and yeah, he did that with Benny, but it's still the Safdie style where they really are good about being very close and tight with the characters. And Marty Supreme definitely is a good example of how Timothy Chalamet really like is that guy. So yeah, clear front runner. I mean, people could say DiCaprio, and DiCaprio still gives a beautiful performance in One Battle After Another. Really, really comedic. Probably the most comedic I've actually seen DiCaprio, oddly enough. I know people can say Don't Look Up, but we don't talk about that film. But
What do
yeah,
people say he's good in that?
I I think his performance is, it's fine, but I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it, I think, is just not quite the performance I would see in with him in anything else he's been in. But regardless, I think DiCaprio, like is worthy. It's a worthy candidate for Best Actor. I just think this is a year where Timothy Chalamet is just above the competition. Even Michael B. Jordan like gives a great performance as two characters. I think that's the first time in a while we've ever seen that. Um, I know Vanya Mora like, but he plays three characters in The Secret Agent, or is it just the same guy?
Yeah, technically three, but like one of them is at different points in time.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, so I, I guess like after I watched Doctor Strangelove, everybody's just taking the inspiration of like putting the actor in like more than one role. But yeah, I'm very happy like about Jordan and Mora getting nominated. But it's simple. It's Chalamet's category to lose. All right, let's jump in Two, Best Actress. This one probably had the biggest shock. I wouldn't say the biggest shock, but definitely the one that where you
It
do,
stood out the most.
yeah, stood out the most, where you do see a snub. But we'll get started here. Jesse Buckley for Hamnet. Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs I'd Kick You. Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue. Renee Rensby, that's how you pronounce that? Like Renate Rensby, for
Renata
Sentimental Value.
Reinsva, I think, yeah.
Renate Rensva. Okay. So I'm already losing points for botching up names. And Emma Stone for Begonia. So yeah, let's talk about the big surprise in this category. That's Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue. A lot of
Yeah, kind
people
of out of
argued,
out of nowhere.
yeah, a lot of people argued that Chase Infinity, the newcomer in One Battle After Another, deserved the nomination, but Academy felt it went should go to Hudson, and I think the SAG awards clearly helped that in some way. But I think regardless, it's still a good category. I mean, I have not sung Blue yet. I know you have.
I
um,
I literally just did that yesterday. It's it's not a very good film, I'll be honest, and I I struggle to say that Kate Hudson is bad because I think that's a bit too harsh. She's fine in it. It more bothers me because this category, had it not been for her, would have been like best actor, where every perform there's not a weak performance, and Kate Hudson really just stands out as like, oh, it's the traditional Oscar biopic performance. Yeah, it's not offensive or anything. There's worse performances that have been nominated, that's for sure, but when you stack it up against the competition, it really just stands out as like, huh? Why is she here? So yeah, if Chase Infinity were here, this would be like best actor, where it's like you basically cooked. You didn't choose a bad performance. So
yeah, I mean,
yeah, I was just more annoyed that she was nominated because that means I had to watch Song Sung Blue, and I didn't want to, but I did. So
yeah, I mean, I try every year just to watch every possible nominee so I don't have to watch any any bad ones. And obviously I haven't seen Song Sung Blue yet. That's on my list along with The Secret Agent and many others. But you know, outside of Hudson, which I can't really say for, I do like this group of nominees here. And this one actually is going to have a bit of a battle for Best Actress. And that's going to be Jessie Buckley for Hamnet and Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Personally, Rose Byrne is my favorite just because don't, I think next to Chalamet, she probably gives the best performance of that year. I really want her to win just because it's such a great performance and great film too. It's kind of funny how it's like all the films that induce anxiety attacks have like actors that are big front runners in certain categories.
that was the running theme of this year. Yeah, no, I really like Jessie Buckley, but I do agree that Rose Byrne is the superior performance. But everyone's been tracking Buckley as winning, and I honestly don't see that changing. To tell you the
Hmm.
truth, um,
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I think it's, and she gives a great performance in Hand That. I mean, it's definitely very emotional, and there is like very something interesting about her character in the film and how she sort of is coping for loss along with like Paul Mescal in this film. I'll bet a bit differently, but I don't know. It's like Rose Byrne to me was the better performance, and I think you know, and if Hamlet's gonna win any award, because unfortunately I don't really see it winning any others. I mean, there is a dark horse candidate for Best Picture. The only category I really see it winning is Best Actress. Which, if it had to win in a category, it's got to be Best Actress.
yeah, I would say that's the only one. I'm also really I'm still on the Renata Reinsva train in terms of her potentially winning because I really love her in Sentimental Value. In my opinion, I like her performance more than Rose Byrne, ever so slightly. I don't know if that's necessarily possible though at this rate, but never say never.
Yeah, there is potential she could get the BAFTA. I think it seems like she's seemingly a lock for the BAFTAs. Which, at the time of recording this the nominations have not been announced yet. So if I happen to get kicked in the butt for getting that wrong, I apologize to my Swedish and then Norwegian brethren. But yeah, it's a great performance. I mean, really enjoyed her in sentimental value, really emotional, and there's so many good scenes with her character in the movie, and just kind of how much he's coping with the idea of like being an actress and also like acting for a father that she hasn't seen in many years. It's a very very gripping performance. And yeah, I mean, Emma Stone in Begonia is great too. I mean, she's obviously not going to win, but it's been proving that Emma Stone is definitely like the best actress of like this past
The
decade or
generation.
so. Like
Yeah.
every, I mean, it's insane. Like going from Judd Apatow like comedies all the way to like being in prestige dramas and comedies is really impressive. I'm really liking what Emma Stone has been bringing to the table this past decade, and it's just proving she's going to be a heavy hitter in the years to come. And it means she is, but
Yeah,
it's
for
like
sure.
already two wins and what, six
2 wins and like
nominations.
7 noms, I think.
Seven noms, yeah, because she has the producer noms for Poor Things and of course this year's Bugonia. But yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with most of this list. Obviously, I can't say much for Kate Hudson, but I think it's gonna be a Buckley's category to lose. But yeah, any other thoughts?
No, I mean it's more just I'm just disappointed that Chase Infinity isn't on here because if that were the case, it would be basically a perfect lineup. So
Yeah, and and she's got a big career ahead of her. I mean, I think she really is gonna be in much more after this. I'm very hoping to continue to see more of her in the years down the road. And a snub for me, I guess, would be Jennifer Lawrence for "Die My Love." It's probably her best performance in a long time. Oddly enough, I mean, not to say she hasn't put in like a bad, you know, performance, but I think it's just the film she's in hasn't been like complimenting her performance, but in Die My Love, it's like probably her best role in like years. But
yeah, Die My Love was always a hard would have been a hard sell regardless for the Oscar voters. So part of me isn't too surprised. Like
yeah,
that film is very experimental and weird. So
yeah, very much so, and and that's just a case of like Linton Ramsey's body of work,
yeah,
but
and the
still, I
Academy
mean,
has never been too favorable to her, unfortunately.
yeah, very
Shame
much
because
so,
she's a really good filmmaker. So
very much so. I mean, hopefully
yeah,
she'll get it one day. But yeah, outside one I haven't seen yet. I'm pretty much happy with this group. All right. Best actor in a supporting role. We have Benicio del Toro for One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo for Sinners, Sean Penn for One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård. I think I pronounced that right. I've been botching names
I think
today.
so. Yeah.
Um,
No, I think you got it right.
yeah, I got it right. Okay. And Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. This is probably the biggest list of heavy hitters next to Best Actor, honestly. Um, Delroy Lindo is a certain surprise, but
Very
I'm
happy he's in here.
yeah, long overdue for a nomination. Don't think he'll win, but long overdue. But I think it's going to be a three-way race. I think there's been a time where Sean Penn looked like he could be a front runner. And he does. It is a great performance in One Battle After Another. Like his character is just hilarious and but also very intimidating. Really good antagonist, and plus that last name, Colonel Lockjaw,
Stephen Lockjaw. Yeah.
that is such a great name.
He,
Um,
I would say he's probably my favorite performance overall from last year for all the reasons you said.
mhm,
Like
mhm.
he's the villain. He's menacing, but he's also super funny in terms of just how insecure he is. Like it's a very over the top character in the perfect way possible. And yeah, like every he has such a unique presence in like every scene he's in. So yeah, I love him in that film. I don't think he's gonna win though, which is a bit of a bummer. But Stellan Skarsgård, I believe, is the front runner as of when we're recording this,
Yeah,
and
I mean, it seems like
I don't
he
think that's a bad
is.
choice either.
Yeah, like he's. I mean, I think he's probably my favorite to win. Just because I think not, not to say he's been long overdue. This is his first nomination, but I think his performance and sentimental value is like a really beautiful performance. I like a lot of the scenes where he seems very understated, but it's like you're kind of trying to figure out what's going on in this guy's head and what he's going through, and it definitely it's a very captivating performance. So I'm really happy about this nomination. I mean, I want him to win. I think he should win. I think he will win slight, but I think there are two other guys in this category that could potentially say something about that. Benicio del Toro's been a big surprise because pretty much in most of the critics groups, he's pretty much got this award and like almost nearly swept it with Scars Who Are Coming Close Minute. And then when Critics' Choice rolled around, Jacob Elordi took the award. So it's gonna be an interesting battle between these three.
I'm still not as confident about Jacob Elordi after he missed the Golden Globe. I think if he won that, then I would have been more confident in saying he'll take it. But I think he's probably on the lower end. Like I'm not expecting him to win. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there is potential that he could potentially take it. So definitely the dark horse in this category. But Benicio del Toro definitely seems like the one who could potentially nab it from Skarsgård. Which I like his performance in One Bad After Another. I think he plays a really interesting character, and the way he sort of because apparently like it was they filmed this during the Phoenician scheme and what the Wes Anderson film that came out this year, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
apparently, like,
I'd
he
read that.
came in unprepared on set, to play this character, so a lot of what he's did in the film was very improvisational, which is really impressive, like, just the way I kind of like how he sort of counteracts with, DiCaprio's character in many scenes because he's just very calm, very go with the flow type of guy in that role, and
Yeah,
it's humorous, but it's like also a very interesting character. Especially the scene where he gets pulled over and it's just like dancing as he's about to get arrested. I love it, but I don't know if it's like the best out of the category though. I mean, I think it's a great performance, but I mean, Skarsgård's just to me that's my favorite and my pick. I think he's the one that puts in probably the best performance out of the 5. I mean, Sean Penn does too. I mean, Sean Penn's great, but I think in terms of emotionality and, connecting with the character, this is probably the one role that I'm really wanting to win the award here.
yeah. I think that's I think that's probably the most likely to win. Especially if we were to look at it from the perspective of how the Academy chooses their awards. Like he checks off a lot of those boxes,
Mhm.
and not to discredit that on him because overall it's a wonderful performance. Like it's a very believable role. So
Yeah, very
yeah,
much so. I mean, and we'll find out, obviously. I mean, BAFTAs, like I said, are coming out tomorrow night at the time of, not tomorrow night, tomorrow morning, technically, at the time of recording this. And we'll see what the BAFTAs do um, in terms of the shortlist. And of course, you got the SAG Awards to look at as well, despite the fact that Sentimental Value is like completely shut out of the SAG awards, unfortunately. There could be like a lot of toss-ups in this category. I think this is the one category that has a lot of toss-ups. But still Skarsgård's my favorite. But Colonel Lockjaw is still a great name.
yeah,
But yeah. All right.
yeah.
Best actress in a supporting role. For that we have Elle Fanning for Sentimental Value. Inga Ibsdottir Lilius. I'm sucking at
I think you got it right.
did I get it? Oh,
I
maybe.
think you did.
Yeah. It's gonna be a first episode of botching a lot of European last names, unfortunately. um, But yeah, Inga for his sentimental value. I don't want to botch that name. Hopefully I don't. Amy Madigan for weapons. Wunmi Mosaku for sinners, and Tiana Taylor for one battle after another. I guess we should address the Broadway fans in the room. Ariana
Oh,
Grande did
Ariana.
not get nominated for Wicked for Good. To me, that did come as a bit of a shock, but I couldn't say I was
Would you
surprised.
think so?
Um, I think it's because she was listed a lot for the Globes and for SAG. And she still puts in a good performance in Wicked for Good, even as much as I don't really like Wicked for Good. I still think it's a good performance. I just think from and hopefully like that one report that came out from the award voter like saying being uncomfortable by the relationship between Arrivo and
Which
Grande like
which is a stupid reason to not
yeah,
put her name down for a
like
nomination. Let's be
come
fair.
on.
Or
Like
like
come on. I mean, I'm not a big
judge the performance.
yeah, this is a performance. Like don't be worried about, two women supporting one another. That is just such a bad comment there. But I guess it did come as a shock to me because I thought Fanning was running out of steam in this category, but she got through and pulled out a nomination. I know Masaku was also not considered to be like a lock for this category either because she didn't get the Golden Globe nomination or the Critics' Choice, I believe. She snuck in and got the nomination as well, so unfortunately for the Arianators, like, Ariana Grande got shut out of the category completely, along with the film she was in. But, it's not a bad list of nominees. I mean, it's still a great list. I'm very impressed with all these.
I would argue this is one of the rare instances where snubs from the initially predicted from the predictions ended up benefiting this category because like best actor these are all very good performances and very worthy. I will say that I am extremely happy that the main cast of Sentimental Value all has Oscar noms because that was one that I was hoping from the start, and then it seemed like it wasn't going to happen, and then they pulled through. So that's excellent. I know there's been a lot of doubters for Amy Madigan Weapons, mostly just because it's a horror film and strictly a horror film. I know Sinners is technically in that category too, but that does a bunch of other genre stuff. But Weapons is pure horror, I would say, and
Yeah,
so the fact that she got in here, excellent. Yeah, I would say the only two that were essentially locks was Tiana Taylor and Inga Ibzar Lilius. And between the two, like it seems like Tiana's gonna win based on the traction. She won the Globe. I'm personally a bit more partial to Inga because I think she brings off this very specific quiet quality to her performance that I really haven't seen in any other performance this year. It's so subtle and natural that I believe every reaction and every bit of emotion from her in sentimental value. So
yeah, it's crazy. I think this is the first since 2001 where I think out of all the categories, this is pretty much the bigger toss-up. I think Tiana Taylor surely is a front runner, but I think there is potential for Madigan or Lilius to really take the award. I mean, personally, Madigan's my favorite. I do love Tiana Taylor in One Battle After Another. She's great in that movie and really good role. I mean, especially with the fact that she's only really in the film for the first 20 minutes and leaves a huge impression just from the get-go is really good. Like it's a really good character. But I think I'm really pulling from Madigan here. I mean, her performance in Weapons is really good. Role she plays is incredible, and I mean, the fact that she is so intimidating in the movie, but it's also she has those moments of sort of being a little bit goofy. It's like I really enjoy her in this movie. She's really good. And I'm very like happy that she got the nomination. So it's really pretty much in a situation where it's going to be between Madigan and Taylor. 'Cause I think this is probably much more the toss up than the other categories. I mean, even Best Supporting Actor, like you can kind of say Skarsgård might be more the front runner there, but Madigan and Taylor, it's going to be a 50-50 between those two. I think Lilius can potentially get it too. But I don't know. I think it's going to be between these two. We'll see. I mean, I guess it's going to be interesting. I mean, the reason I mentioned 2001 is that this was also a toss-up year where all the actresses nominated in the category like didn't win any of the big awards prior. Like Marcia Gay Harden,
Hmm.
from she won for Pollock, but the awards from the Globe to the Critics' Choice to the BAFTA were all to the other four in that category. I don't think we're gonna run into a situation like that this year, where that category would think was much more of a toss up than this year's category, but we'll see. I mean, anything could happen. I mean, SAG awards have can also like pull upsets. BAFTAs could pull upsets. It's like it's crazy, like how stacked these categories really are. Pretty happy with this whole list of nominees. I'm very happy for Elle Fanning getting her first, and Mimi Masaku gives a great performance as well.
Yeah, it's interesting how I think all these performances too. I know there's been conversations in the past about like category fraud and all that, but I personally don't have much of an opinion on the category fraud debate. I know like last year with Kieran Culkin and A Real Pain, some people argued like, oh, he's not the supporting, he's the co-lead or something like that. But something I noticed for these is like every single one is a legitimate supporting role. Like if you look at the screen time breakdown, they are most definitely not a lead. So it very much fits the category. So if there's one debate we're not going to have during the Oscar discourse is any mention of category fraud, which will be
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, and it's like, I mean, I think that might have been the argument against like Grande getting snubbed because technically much more in Wicked for Good is like she
I
felt
would argue
more like
she's
the
the
lead in
lead.
that movie than Arriva
Yeah.
did. So I think Universal probably campaigned for the wrong category at the end of the day. I don't think she would have got in Best Actress considering how stacked that lineup is. Even Hudson,
No.
I don't think she would have gotten past. But
Hudson, I think, is just a happy accident, if I'll be totally honest.
yeah, I mean it's crazy. I mean but yeah, I mean it's a really good category. I know people wanted to see Odessa as Ion for Marty Supreme, but I don't think she was gonna get in for that, unfortunately. But it would have been nice, obviously. But she's got a big career ahead of her. I actually did watch I Love LA. It's the new show on HBO Max from Rachel Seno, and
Hmm.
she's really good in the is
I
it
only saw the first episode. I didn't like finish it for some reason. I didn't think it was bad. I just don't feel the need to watch the rest of it.
I think we'll see her again. I mean, if Marty Supreme's not gonna be the one where she'll get a nod, there should be some others. So, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with most of these acting nominations for the most part. I'm not really mad about any of them. All right, we got four more to go. I think we're gonna try to speed through these just because I think they've been going on for a little bit. But we're gonna go talk about best writing original screenplay. I guess they just decided to rename the categories a different way this year, which
I think that's how they officially list it on the website, but during the broadcast, they don't specify the writing. I think that's the official name.
yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I mean, they probably do how they do it. For that category, we have Blue Moon was just an accident. Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. Blue Moon's probably the biggest surprise of this
It's nice to
nomination.
see. Yeah, it's a good script.
Yeah, it's a good script. I'm very happy he got nominated. I mean, personally, I would love to see Weapons or Sorry Baby. I did watch Sorry
Hmm.
Baby recently, and I think Eva Victor is certainly going to be a name I got to keep track of in the coming years, just because she really blew me away in that film, just from writing, directing, and acting in that film. I mean, unfortunate snub there. Honestly, I'm not really mad about most of these being nominated.
No, I'd argue Sorry Baby just being completely shut out of this year's ceremony is a letdown in and of itself. I think it's more of a victim of A24, just because they clearly went all in on Mario Supreme, which, fair enough, but that's like there's one thing to complain about A24 is that they always put their eggs in one basket, and then so many other films get like unfairly shut out. And
Yeah,
Sorry Babies was this year. I know last year Queer was very much that example. Otherwise, like original screenplay, very very good. I don't know. Based on this, like, do you think Sinners will win? I know that's been winning a lot of
I
critics
think if
groups.
it's gonna win, I think it's gonna be this category. I have it as the front runner for this category. I think there's potential for sentimental value and Marty Supreme. I mean, maybe they could, like, maybe just because of what Panahi's been through in the past year or so, getting arrested in Iran once again. I mean, the thing about Jafar Panahi is I admire the guy's bravery with making these movies. Like,
Genuinely a fearless filmmaker.
yeah, like he is unafraid, and it was just an accident. Is, a film where you feel the strength of that director and his writing in this film. The fact that he's been able to film this in Iran, despite the fact he's technically banned from filming, is really impressive. But I'd have to go Sinners in this category. Plus, I think One Battle After Another being mostly the favorite for Best Picture and Director. I think if Cougar was gonna win his Oscar, it's gonna be in this category.
If we're talking specifically Coogler himself and not the film, screenplay would be the one.
Yeah,
So
for sure. And I'm pretty sure
yeah, I
like
would.
Sinners will get some others, but I think Sinners will
Yeah, well, we
obviously.
know one for sure that Sinners is gonna get.
Yeah,
Like, we don't even need to like have a conversation about its score.
it's
Like,
score. It's certainly a score. So I think Sinners will come away with some big awards that evening. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't really say much about original screenplay just because I think all these films are really well written, and I'm not really mad about any of them getting nominated. I mean, yeah, there's Weapons and Sorry Baby getting snubbed, but I'm pretty happy with this whole list. I don't have much of an issue.
no, yeah, no complaints.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
We'll
def-
go into Best Adapted: Bugonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Nerve, and Train Dreams.
this is another one where it's definitely one battle
Yeah,
taking it.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I forgot who. I think it was Luis Perez. I think he's a Miami film critic that pops up on my Twitter feed all the time with like award predictions. But he has had like this whole chart of the awards that are being won, and where some categories you could say are toss-ups. Adapted screenplay, it's all been one battle after another. Um,
Oh
like,
yeah.
I mean, there's potential for Hamnet, but one battle after another, I think has this in the bag. I think it had it in the bag from the moment it got like greenlit as a film. Like it's such a beautifully written screenplay, and how the kinetic energy PTA just puts into everything, and like every scene, it's just so concise, it's so gripping, it just like doesn't let you go. Like that is,
No, it doesn't slow.
yeah, there's not a single dull moment in one battle after another. And I mean, I like the others. I mean, I'm happy about Del Toro because, this obviously was much more of a personal story for him. And I think it was very, I think having the film built from two different perspectives did help Frankenstein get this nomination, just because it is a little different from how all the other Frankenstein adaptations do the story. And I'm very happy that Del Toro, like, did get a nomination here. And, Hamnet and Train Dreams are very well written too. I mean, there is something so beautiful about Train Dreams, like I said. And, I'm not mad about Begonia, but one battle after another, like it's clearly it's clearly gonna get the category.
Yeah, I think for me personally, adapted screenplay is just overall, it's just not as strong compared to original this year. And it almost flip flops every year where it's like one year adapted is just way better than original and vice versa. I think this year it's more the opposite because what, in my opinion, based on these nominees, one battle after another clears so hard. The closest second would probably be Train Dreams for me because everything else, like Hamnet, it's like it's fine, like it's well written. If anything, I'm more surprised Frankenstein was nominated for adapted screenplay and Guillermo didn't get the director nom because I do actually have some problems with the screenplay, specifically with the two act narrative, I guess. And then Bugonia is similar. It's just more the third act I have a lot of issues with. Like it has a really great start, and it just kind of falters out. So not to say that any of them are bad, but I just think the competition was just not as fierce this year for adapted.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think there's potential for Hamnet, but there is such a gap there could be the potential PTA doesn't get Best Director, but I think he will. But if he was gonna win, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be one battle after another. Yeah, I mean, it's clear it's gonna be the battle between one battle after another, and Sinner is definitely a great list of nominees. I'm very happy. All right, we'll go through two more categories. We'll kind of tap on the others a little bit, but I don't think we're gonna go focus too much since we got the Golden Temple and Mercy waiting in the corner right now. Best animated feature. Admittedly, I've only seen two of these. I've got to catch up. Arco, Elio, K-pop Demon Hunters, Little Amelie, or The Character of Rain, and Zootopia 2. I think it's been pretty clear what film's gonna get this one, and it is a pretty
K-pop.
like culturally impactful film. It's K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a fan of that film, but I understand why it would win. And I think in general, just animation this year was not. It wasn't a particularly strong year for animated films. I've seen all of these, and funny enough, K-pop Demon Hunters is my least favorite out of these five. But even then, there's nothing that necessarily blew me away. There was one animated film that wasn't submitted. It was called Naja 2 from China, which I thought was an excellent film that should have been nominated, but they didn't submit it for whatever reason. Yeah, I'm trying to think what would be my favorite. I guess Arco is probably my favorite out of the five. It's a charming French animated film. Has a very Studio Ghibli quality to it.
Produced by
But
Natalie
yeah,
Portman.
Cape is produced by now.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
because
yeah,
because
yeah,
she's
she
in the
produced
dub.
it. Like, I mean, I'm
Yeah, the English dub has a lot of American talent, so I think that's probably why.
I guess I'm not really upset about K-pop Demon Hunters, like, being the front runner just because
No, neither am I.
yeah, I mean, admittedly, it's not my cup of tea, of a film. I mean, part of this is because it's my taste. I mean, I'm not really into the K-pop genre in general. I mean, it's just like, it's such a sweet genre. I mean, it's like the point where like you're eating so much chocolate and it gets so tiring after a while and you feel disgusted after eating so much sweet. That's how I feel about K-pop music, which in a sense isn't bad music. I do understand its impact and you know a lot of that we could thank like what Gangnam Style all the way back in 2012 and then the rise of BTS and Blackpink. It's like there's a lot of those K-pop groups that are really popping up a lot in the 2010s and the 2020s. Truly, it's just like I am impressed with the film. I mean, I think it does have a very positive message, and the soundtrack is obviously really strong. Even though I don't listen to it that often. I mean, Soda Pop got so tiring after a while. I mean, I actually got more tired of that than Golden, if I'm being honest. Which yeah, to me that's a clear front runner for original song. And sorry, Matthew, um, but I still think it's a good. I think I'm not mad about it. Being the front runner, and it's good to see that Sony Animation still putting out great, great, great stuff. I know I like Zootopia too a little more, but I still I won't be mad about K-pop Demon Hunters like being the front runner and the winner for this category.
Yeah, it's a worthy contender. It has its place. It's just kind of echoing you said. It's not something I personally connected with. So yeah, I mean, we've had worse animated films nominated in this category, and I'd rather have this than anything by Illumination being in here. So that's fine.
But yeah, I'm pretty like happy. I wouldn't say happy, but I'm not mad about K-pop Demon Hunters being nominated in this category. I mean, animation this year has not been that impressive, but I mean, I still got to see Little Amelie and Arco and Elio. I mean, I know Elio didn't do so hot for Pixar this year. That's obviously got to catch them. They're on my list. So, but yeah, I think that's all I can really say about animated feature. All right, best international feature film. I know there's one obvious snub. We'll get to it. It was just an accident from France, directed by Jafar Panahi. The Secret Agent from Brazil, directed by Kleber Mendonça Filho. Like I said, I'm botching names today, guys. I'm apologizing to all the people I offended by my name pronunciations today. Sentimental Value from Norway, directed by Joachim Trier. Seurat from Spain, directed by Oliver Lax. And then The Voice of Henry Jab from Tunisia, directed by Kiathar Ben Hanaya. There is an obvious film missing this year, for both of us at least.
Yeah, no other choice was the yeah massive. Probably I don't know. I've given this some serious thought. This is probably the most egregious snub in maybe almost 20 years. I don't know. It's up there. Like I know people always. I still think Crash winning over Brokeback Mountain is still probably the worst, but this might be number two. I'll be honest. Like Park Chan Wook is has been snubbed throughout his entire career. Man has never been nominated for an Oscar. And if there was any film for him to get nominated for, it probably would have been No Other Choice because I would say it's his most accessible film by a long shot. It's like not even
Mhm.
close. So it's very unfortunate that the film didn't pull through, but also by that same token, it was Neon, and Neon had an exceptionally good year for international cinema. So one was bound to get snubbed. And the reason why I'm it annoys me, but it's not like the film that whichever film got in was like bad because my guess that was probably The Voice of Henry Job that
Mhm.
was put in its place. And not to discredit that film either, because that's a very it's a very good movie and a very important movie too. But if I had a choice between that and No Other Choice clears basically every other film in this category. So yeah, what a shame.
It was my number three pick, like my number three favorite film of the year behind Sinners and One Battle After Another. It is a really great film. And apologies to all my Park Chan Wook fans, but it was my first time watching a Park Chan Wook movie. I've been meaning that
It's not a bad start.
he's been a bit of a blind spot in my film watching. It's like I've been meaning to watch Old Boy, I've been meaning to watch The Handmaiden and Decision to Leave, but it's just like I don't know why this guy ended up being such a blind spot in my entire time watching film. But I'm happy I saw it. It's a great movie. I mean, I wish it got an editing nomination. Like the editing is just so beautiful in the film. Like just the way it's just transitions from one scene to the next is just insane. It keeps you intrigued, it keeps you hooked on everything that's going on. I mean, the story is so good. I mean, the fact that like this character who's like doing some pretty bad things is that empathetic. It's crazy. Like I really enjoyed my time watching the film, and plus I was at an Alamo in downtown Dallas, and they had like a virtual Q&A with Park Chan-wook and the director Byun Hun Lee, and the dude pulled up with a beer during the Q&A. Like, dude is looks he looks so chill. Like I liked his explanation about like how he created such an empathetic main character that in a case it does really horrible things. I haven't seen Serrata, the voice of Haim Rajab yet. Those are on my list. I'm not really mad about the three perennial frontrunners in this category. I mean, I think they're not only mentioned all of them before, but it's like I'm sentimental value. I think it's probably my favorite to win this category, but I've been seeing a lot of people go for the secret agent.
Yeah, Secret Agent has been pulling through. I This is a hard one to pick who would win because Secret Agent winning at the Globes was that definitely helped it. I'm keen to believe it. It was just an accident. Is still probably gonna win,
Mm-hmm.
even though if I had a preference, I would choose sentimental value over it. But yeah, I think it was just an accident. Still, as a pretty fair shot.
Yeah,
And even that, I would probably still say that even if No Other Choice was nominated, like it
yeah,
was always in high contention to make the final five. But I don't think a lot of the voters intended that to be the winner.
yeah. It's insane, and I think like I said, what's been going on with Jafar Panahi and the government of Iran you know, has been like, really sympathizing with a lot of people. because he did really take a risk to get this film out there. I mean, because if you notice, it's submitted from France. Iran's not even involved. So, and I don't even know if Iran has really ever submitted a film either. Maybe wrong. There's probably extensive Academy Award history. I don't know. He took a risk. He took a big jump to get this film out there, and I think the fact that he is like in prison right now does sort of help that film's chances. But I think it's hard to really make a safe choice on who's gonna win, at least between these three. I mean, I've been hearing great things about Surat, but I haven't been seeing it as like a front runner in this category. And Henry Job, like I said, great things as well. But same with Surat. It's not a front runner. It's between
Yeah.
these three films. So it's really going to be a toss up. Like, you're going to give Hakeem Trier his first award? Are you going to give The Secret Agent their first award of the night? Or are you going to give Jafar Panahi his first award? It's really going to be tough to know. It's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out come Oscar night. Obviously, the BAFTAs are still in play, but it'll be interesting how to see this category really pans out. Any other thoughts on these big categories, Matthew?
No, not necessarily. I think this is what I'm saying when I think you brought up earlier how there was a lot of praise and for what was nominated. There's like a few the few ones that were snubs were just very egregious, I would argue.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like there it was more just like two that were so like bad. Yeah, it wasn't like a bunch. And the only criticism now is the fact that as usual people backpedal on their thoughts on some of the films and say like no, it's actually bad, even though people didn't say that when it came out. You see that a lot with F1 and then with Sinners, but it's mostly from particular groups claiming that I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but um, the discourse always happens regardless of the nominations. But overall, I still think it was a very good selection pool for the main categories. At least there's only like one or two that would probably switch out, but
Yeah,
yeah, no, overall it's good, and I think it's a testament to how strong the year was. There's not really any like filler, I would say.
yeah, for sure. And even just like looking for the tag categories, I think those categories probably have a more clear idea of who the front runners are. I mean, Avatar obviously for VFX. I think One Battle is probably gonna get film editing, but I won't be surprised about F1. I think Frankenstein's gonna get like design, makeup, and costume. Um,
Yeah, I would say.
and cinematography going to be a toss up between Train Dreams and Sinners, and sound is going to go to F1 if it was going to get anything. Casting, the new category, I'm very happy
Oh
about
yeah,
that. I'm looks like it sounds like they are going to bring in stunts next year. I don't think they made an official announcement yet though, but
it's
yeah,
coming in the next few years, I think.
yeah, it's going to be. I think it might be for the 100th Academy Awards, but yeah, I'm very happy about that they're finally recognizing the casting directors. I mean, those people initially are the ones that bring in these actors. I mean, it's an important category. I mean, their jobs are obviously facing the threats of obviously the current push for AI in the film industry, along with a lot of the big tech categories right now. So I mean, I think it is very important to recognize this category. I mean, I think Sinners will be the clear front runner for that, and you know, wouldn't be mad if we go see anything else. And I mean, best music, it's gonna go to Sinners for score and K-pop for original song. I mean, I think that's. I mean, I think there was gonna be a point where it could also go to Sinners for song, but I don't think it's gonna get it. And I mean, I still gotta watch the documentary and short film categories. But yeah, honestly, it's like yeah, like you said, I'm very happy with everything at the Oscars, and we'll see what happens come March 15th. So it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be covering the ceremony at least. I'm sure leading up we might just indirectly talk about predictions, but we already planned that for the ceremony we're gonna do a whole break, not like an intense breakdown, but we'll like go through the winners and
Hmm.
if there's anything crazy that happened, which I don't think it will because Conan's back as hosting, so it'll probably be like pretty chill.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Conan is a savior for hosting gigs at award shows. I mean, Nikki Glacier did
yeah,
a good job with the Golden Globe, so I'm not very mad
yeah, she
about.
she did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on Conan's level, but I really do like whenever I see Nikki Glacier in anything. She's funny. She's hilarious. Really enjoy her, and Conan's amazing too. So Conan gives the idea that he's the butt of the joke, not everybody else. Like that's the one thing I do love about Conan. That's why he's hilarious. But yeah, any other thoughts on the Academy Awards?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered the main ones. I don't think there was anything really else that stood out off the top of my head.
All right, awesome. Yeah, we'll see how it all works out and see how divided film Twitter gets. Film Twitter is just like, one of those. I think if it was a person, it would be a very disturbed person. Or just
Yeah.
Twitter in general. Like, Twitter is always that way. Um, do you have a new release from 2026? Did come out recently. It is a sequel to probably one of the most influential horror franchises out there. And that is 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Directed by Nia DaCosta this time instead of Danny Boyle.
Yes.
Written by Alex Garland and starring at least the big main actors Jack O'Connell, Alfie Williams, and Ray Fiennes. I guess before we jump into thoughts about the film at hand, what are your thoughts on the franchise?
Yeah. So I didn't necessarily grow up. Well, I don't think grow up is the right word because these films are pretty brutal and violent. But I had never seen them until 28 years later was about to come out. So I decided, okay, let me watch the other two. And because I had heard a lot about specifically days, I actually didn't realize 28 weeks later was a thing until a bit later in my life. But like I like Danny Boyle as a director. I think he's a very very interesting, versatile director, doing stuff like Train Spotting and Slumdog Millionaire and 28 Days Later. And because I remember a lot of people were talking about it back when we were in college, and I just heard very few things about it, and I was super super impressed with how like scrappy it was. I loved the digital camera aesthetic and how it the plausibility of that film. Like if a zombie outbreak were to happen in our society, this is probably how it would go down. And to me, that's what made it really scary. It's like it was so grounded in reality, and it really really worked, and I really liked it. Then 28 weeks later it's a weird sequel. Like it's not good, that's for sure. It's weird in just terms of how it totally ignored what made the first film a success. It just kind of Americanized it in a way where it's like, oh, it's about like the action and the military coming in, and it's like it feels it's like a video game plot. Like the only thing I remember was the opening scene, which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty good.
Funny because it's the only scene that Danny Boyle directed, and then it went off to the other guy.
But it makes total sense because it feels more in line with that first film. But otherwise, the characters are so dumb. Like it's not scary. The dialogue is trash. So yeah, it's a pretty disposable sequel. Not the worst thing ever, but not worth your time. Then 28 years later, I was immediately intrigued by that trailer. I thought that trailer was awesome, and I was like, okay, this is why I want to see the film. And then I saw it, and I was super super impressed. It's like in the age of the legacy sequel, this is probably one of the best examples in terms of expanding this universe, but also bringing in some elements of nostalgia in terms of the tone and the atmosphere. And where it's a brutal and a weird studio film, and the fact that Boyle and Garland came back and they were able to reposition the film as sort of a commentary on the current society post pandemic made it very very timely and prescient. And even though it's super brutal and intense, there is this feeling that okay, there is still good people in the world, and that empathy and coming of age is what I found to be a surprisingly emotional film, despite how the cool zombie murders and stuff. So, and then we could probably talk about this now since the movie's been out for a while. I know people were super divided on the ending to 28 Years Later when it introduces the Jimmies, and people are just like, "What the hell is this? Like, what are we doing?" And but I was pretty excited. I'm like, "Oh, this it's gonna get like weirder now. You're introducing these new societies." So I was hyped for Bone Temple to lead into that. And I guess to give my thoughts, I really like it. I think it's really really good. If I had to pick between the two, I think 28 Years Later is slightly better, mostly because of the style. But what I really like about Bone Temple is how it's more of like a character drama than a horror film. It really dives into the character growth, especially with Ray Fiennes trying to find a cure, and then also with Spike joining the Jimmy cult. And something that's interesting about this film is how they position. It's really a lot about the how cults are formed in this society where there's no laws or rules, and how there's this desire for power and like worship. And it's really really frightening. And in a way, this is almost like Clockwork Orange mixed with a zombie apocalypse. Like the what the Jimmy cult ends up doing is just like incredibly terrifying, but you sense this plausibility of like, yeah, there's some people that are just this demented and power hungry that they'll do whatever they can to, I guess, feel that sense, that satisfaction. And even then, like this movie, I would argue has like basically next to no fun in a good way. Like it's super dour, it's super dark, it's super depressing. Yet there are still some moments that go ridiculously hard, which we'll get into later. But overall, yeah, I was. This is a rare January film that is honestly excellent and will likely still be talked about by the end of this year. I think it could have some staying power. So
Yeah, for real. And like you, I'm pretty new to the 28 Days Later franchise. I know a lot about its influence on this genre. I mean, because obviously with Dawn of the Dead, like obviously being or Night of the Living Dead, being huge influences on the genre. It's like I always felt like there was such a huge gap. I mean, of course, you had like Invasion of the Body Snatchers that came in the 70s, and I don't know just if there's been any other films that came out between that point and the first 28 days later. I guess like this is probably the first to really bring that to the modern audience. Because I watched the film and it's like I'm very impressed about, despite the low budget, it was only filmed on a single Canon camcorder, and they were very limited on what they could do on set. Like, the opening inside of downtown London. They filmed that at like 2 or 3, or I think it was like super early in the morning.
mm-hmm.
And, because the city said they didn't want them to like, block off every intersection in the city, and so the city wouldn't give them like the permits to like do so during the day. So they had to do it like really early in the morning. And so one of the things that was fascinating about is like they apparently tipped over a coach, and that's just a giant red bus that you see in like, Harry Potter or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, I read
They
that.
tipped it over for a certain scene as like, Killian Murphy's like walking through the desolate city. And then they had to put it back up right before, before the whole city wakes up. So it's really impressive on how they managed to make the first film. And I like the first film a lot. The only issue I really had with the first film is that the actress playing the daughter of Brendan Gleeson's character is not very good. um, it's like there's some awkward line reads that she had. Apparently, she does a lot of like music producing now. Apparently, I
Oh,
guess
interesting.
yeah, I guess that like more of her interest is than acting, which is okay. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the first film. I mean, I think Danny Boyle's really good at like creating so much intensity with just such limited resources. It reminds me a lot of Robert Rodriguez in that regard, except he's not doing it all by himself, but still taking advantage of the low budget he has and the actors he has, and because the only really big actors in that movie at that time were Brendan Gleeson and Christopher
Cute.
Eccleston, um, that's a Doctor Who fame. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I really enjoyed the first one. 28 weeks later, I wasn't that impressed with, just like you. I think outside of the opening scene, which, like I said, was directed by Danny Boyle before he handed off to, what's the guy's name? Juan
Some
Carlos.
guy.
Yeah, Juan
I
Carlos
don't know.
Fresnadillo. Dilo. I hope like I said, it's been a day of mispronouncing names. I guess also I didn't know Rose Byrne was in it either.
Yeah,
But
Rose Byrne's in it.
yeah, Rose Byrne's in it, Jeremy Renner's in it. Bunch, great actors. But and it does do something interesting with the world in it, where it. I mean, especially the scene where Jeremy Renner's like you know on top of the building, and he's debating on he commander tells him that he has to shoot everybody regardless if it's like somebody who isn't affected or not. It's like it is a very captivating scene It's probably the only captivating scene in that entire movie outside the opening. But I feel like it just didn't get the style of the first film right, and the story just kind of didn't work for me. I mean, I just didn't. I mean, I guess I do like the ideas they put in it, but it just wasn't intriguing. I kind of felt like they really misunderstood like the original film's intent, and well, yeah, I want to see the people come back eventually from this infection. It just like it didn't really do anything for me. It kind of lacked the horror, it lacked the intensity, and it really disappointed me. So I didn't really like that one. And then Bone Temple, like yeah, Bone not Bone Temple. 28 Years Later, like I really enjoy that. I think it's a great movie. I've just my top 10 of the year. I really enjoyed it a
Oh,
lot. Boyle's direction was great, and there's the fact that it was shot on iPhones, like a giant iPhone rig is impressive. And
yeah.
Ray
Oh, I
Fiennes,
forgot about that.
yeah, Ray Fiennes is really good. I really enjoyed Alfie Williams and how much of the film he really carried in the first film. Like probably one of the best child performances in recent years, at least for a modern studio blockbuster. And yeah, I mean it's a great film. I mean I really liked how they sort of tapped into like the idea of like society kind of going more deranged than the actual like rage virus itself. So like it's very interesting in how it tackles isolation in certain ways, and the whole film is about trust at the end of the day, and kind of is humanity really lost from this thing. And I'm really impressed like how it's made. Really made me a fan of this franchise. Although I do really love the first 28 days later. It's like 28 years later. Just really is really really good. And then you get to the Bone Temple, and like yeah, I like it. I don't know if I like it as much as I do 28 years later, as I think that film is a little stronger, and I think I was able to emotionally resonate a little more, but it's still really good. I think Nia DaCosta does a really good job directing this film, although it's not to the kinetic style of Boyle's. And I mean, I really do enjoy Jack O'Connell in this film and the themes about it, and the acting is still great, and it's very beautifully shot, and I really still love seeing how this world is sort of evolving in some way, and the themes it taps into. And yeah, it's a really good movie, and I do have some problems with it, but at the end of the day, I gotta admit it's a really good movie. So
Yeah, going in, my concern actually was the fact that Boyle was not directing, because his creative voice, is what makes the 28 Years franchise so special. And going back to 28 Weeks Later, it's like that's partially why the film suffers, is because he didn't direct it. And Nia DaCosta, who before this I wasn't terribly impressed with her work. Like she did the Candyman remake, which was fine, and then she did the Marvels, which was a dumpster fire
I
among
I, I don't
dumpster
I
fires.
honestly
So
don't fault her for the Marvel
yeah,
choice.
and in hindsight now looking back, it's like okay, that was clearly not her fault, because this film is very well directed. Like I do miss the hyper stylization of Years Later. I think that's one thing that the Bone Temple is missing, but what it makes up for in it is that bleakness and intensity. Like especially in the scenes when the Jimmies are just like overtaking the family, and then like there's a scene in the barn when they're being hyper intimidating and just sort of taking advantage of these people. It's like really graphic and intense for a studio project, and I do appreciate a film that doesn't hold back at all with the violence and stuff. But it's not gratuitous, which is what I appreciate. But it's ballsy. It's a ballsy movie, and I like how that's retained in this film. And the moments of violence and blood, which would you say would you argue it's limited, or do you think
Um,
it's just because I think the first film was probably there was more consistent violence, maybe.
yeah, yeah, there definitely was a little more consistency in the violence in the first film. I think this one not quite as much. I think, and it's not, and I think it oddly doesn't hurt the film at the end of the day. Although I do think, like,
No.
yeah, maybe there could have been more violence, but it's, It's oddly melancholic. It did have bits of melancholy in the first, like in the first 28 years later. Like it definitely does, and it certainly does come back all the way to the first film too, where there are moments of just like characters sort of just taking in the environment, or just sitting around talking for a little bit. But this film, it's like there are a lot of moments that just feel oddly like beautiful, and just especially like the relationship between Ray Fiennes and Brand Samson, yeah, Samson in the film, played by
Mm,
Shia Lewis Perry. Like there are a lot of good moments of just just vibes, like it's just and it works. It works very well. So I'm not really mad about like, the fact that there is a lack of violence, although like in the case like I do sort of wish I could see much more of the horror aspect that was present in the other films, but even then I'm still not like mad. I think what it does offer still works very well.
yeah, it does stand out a lot more because like I mentioned in the intro, is like I just think this movie's really sad. Like
Mm.
it's a downer of a movie, mostly because it leans into the loneliness of this epidemic so hard. Like all the characters are alienated to some degree, even the Jimmies too. Like the
Mhm.
Jack O'Connell character, like he's this gang leader. He's modeled after what's his name, Jimmy Savile,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
I had no
Crystal, yeah.
I had no idea who this guy was until I saw 28 years later, and I looked him up and I'm just like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like even though he's clearly he revels in being evil, there is also this sadness of just like, what are you doing, dude? Like what were you like before this whole outbreak broke up? Like having this sort of main character syndrome going on. And I don't know, even the stuff with like Ray Fiennes too, like you see like the little things when he's just like in his hut and he's like looking at the pictures of his wife and stuff. It really paints a bigger picture of how much has changed in this society, which is what the first film, I think, when I say the first film, 28 Days Later, part
Mhm.
of the intrigue is that you're with Cillian Murphy's character, where it's just like you wake up and you're already in the outbreak, which is scary in its own right. But I think there's something even more haunting when we spend so much time on characters who remember what it was like beforehand. And even with the Spike character who was born into this world, even he's starting to go through it because now he doesn't have his mom. His dad is like basically like just a dick the whole time. So his whole life was a lie up to this point, and he's going through that, which is why you find solace with the one Jimmy, the oh what's her name,
It's
the only
Jimmy
nice
Ink.
one.
Yeah, Jimmy Ink.
Yeah, Jimmy Ink. Yeah,
Yeah.
the only good Jimmy, I guess.
Yeah, very
So
much so, yeah. I mean, it's like, and I think it's very like interesting that the film does sort of just go back to the roots of the original in that way, just because I mean that and those are my like favorite parts of the first film, like because they it's just the moments like in between all the violence and all the chaos that's ensuing, where you're just sort of sitting with these characters, sort of like discovering who they are in some way. Because I'm a sucker for melancholy. Like I love melancholy in any type of film, and I'm really surprised about the amount of melancholy in these films, minus 28 weeks, where it just tried to make it into a whole shoot 'em up action thriller in some way. But here,
well, that film tried to have melancholy, but it failed.
yeah,
Remember the whole thing with the wife?
yeah, very much so. It didn't work just because I think there was just a misunderstanding about what the material was supposed to be, and I think the Costa understands it very well, although she doesn't have like the kinetic stylings of Danny Boyle. She understands like why a lot of those moments are just sitting there and just kind of embracing like this environment is important. I mean, especially like a case of like Ray Fiennes' character where he, even with the fact that he is lonely, and the only person he's talking to is just somebody who's like really infected. I think what they call them, the alphas. It's like I love that his character is just so content. Like he isn't somebody that freaks out easily. He doesn't act in a way where, you know, he's trying to go out and like kill like all the infected or defend themselves from the infected. He just kind of just be that's kind of sort of zealous in some way, and it's not, and it's very interesting from a character standpoint, and it's a really good performance. Like it's Ray Fiennes has always been like a very good actor, and I hope at some point he can get a recognition for more of his roles, and because he only has only a few Oscar nominations, like Schindler's List and the English Patient. And I don't think he'll get one for this. I mean, we'll see like for next year. But I'm really hoping that he gets much more acclaim for these types of roles because he is a really good character actor and does stuff like this so well. Just in the emotionality he just brings to a lot of the characters he plays. But I'm really impressed with like how he is in this film.
It also really helps from because I would say this is more of a drama focused on the character dialogue. Some of the horror even just comes from the dialogue scenes, like the part when Jimmy goes up to Dr. Kelson in the Bone Temple the first time, and he's just like, "No, I'm gonna go by myself. You guys stay here." And it's just what it implied going on for hours. It is very tense. Like, what is this? We already know what he's capable of with like the family in the barn. So you're just wondering, like, is he gonna just like skin him right here, or like what's gonna happen? Like, is he sees Ray Fiennes as like old Nick, right? This sort of satanic figure of like worship, and he sort of like plays along with it, which leads to a really excellent finale, which we'll get into. But I don't know, there's just this tension built out from the dialogue, even from starting in the beginning when Spike is in that knife fight with one of the Jimmies and kills the other Jimmy. He sort of takes his place. It just shows like, yeah, this world, like, no one's gonna help you. Like, you're on your own. This is what you have to do to survive, and it really hammers home that tone right off the bat, and then it just pulls no punches. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's also like a good thing because I was reading Letterboxd about it, and I agree. It's kind of like how the film sort of taps into the idea of false prophets, where Jimmy sort of sees himself as like this sort of messiah, or is like tricking people into you know thinking that he's this messiah. Like he's kind of, and the fact that like it's sort of like an antichrist level of things where it's like, yeah, my father is the devil or whatever. And it sort of works nowadays, especially with not much is going on in the States but pretty much everywhere, of like how people sort of like praise one person and sort of go off of what they say, even if it is harmful in some cases. Like it is a very like relevant topic to be discussed, and I think the way they sort of portray that is very well. And although I think it obviously much more, this film sort of centers more on the UK than it does the rest of the world, which is why 28 Weeks Later sort of failed, because it, although it is based in the UK, it sort of isn't like it's sort of trying to like tap into the rest of the world in some case, which yeah, that's the case of all these films. But I think with the fact that because apparently these films kind of more tap into issues in the United Kingdom than they do like issues anywhere else. Although I think there is a relevancy to like how these sort of idea of false prophets appeal to like everybody around the world in some cases.
That's kind of in line with the first days later, how that was very much reflecting on the post 9/11 tragedies of the world. And this one is very much taking influence from the COVID pandemic. And even though we're not based in the UK, I know there is a lot of like UK contemporary context in terms of the commentary that's embedded into these films. But I agree with what you're saying with how just overall leaders and followers and like that can be put in place into any nation or like social group even too, like in America we definitely see that with the current government right now.
Hmm.
But the nice thing about these films that I like is that they are clearly a commentary and a metaphor for current society, but it's not, it doesn't beat you over the head with it. Like, it's very subtle. Like, you can still enjoy the film removing the commentary and context out of it, and that doesn't, but it doesn't reduce it down to just like, oh, shut your brain off and just have fun. Like, it works on both ends, and there's a very good balance between the genre entertainment and the social commentary put in place, which is what I come to really like about this franchise. And I just hope that's what the third. We'll talk about this also, but like the next film in the
Mhm.
franchise, which is I know it's greenlit. They're gonna do another one.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully, they could still follow through on that.
Yeah, I don't think they've announced the director yet. I mean, I think Alex Garland's just, he said he's done directing now, which I find interesting because, I do like him as a director. But, he obviously very strong as a screenwriter, though. And I do like that, he does have active involvement in these. But yeah, it'll be interesting, if it's still going to be DaCosta or if they're going to, go back to Boyle. I mean, I don't know if they're I think if they finish this off, it should go back to Boyle, but that's just me.
I think Boyle should come back.
Yeah. Not that DaCosta did anything bad. I think she still is a very talented filmmaker, and I think
Hmm.
this film is still good. Like it's still really, really good. And her style, like it is a very strong style to use. It's clear that in case like she is capable of making these blockbuster films. But I think it's like Boyle's touch. I think is a bit stronger than hers, and obviously, Boyle, very revered filmmaker, especially in the UK. And I think DaCosta, I'm hoping like she has more films down the line that she could really like excel in, because she is very talented, and I'm very excited to see what she does next. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think the big thing is that for the film to really excel is to also invoke the visual style into the film too, because that was like the one thing that I think Bone Temple lacked, is that it wasn't as hyper stylized, which like still very beautiful shots, but it's just like there was a little bit missing from it. And especially in weeks later, where I don't think there really is a good style in it at all.
Mhm.
It's just kind of schlocky and like bare. This one at least had some. It was really well shot, and like it was filmed back to back with years later, so you
Yeah.
sense that the energy definitely carried forth. But yeah, it's interesting that they even shot it back to back and had a different director, because you'd think it would just be easier to have the entirely the same team. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not sure what the decision was there, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not really against the decision of having completely different directors, and it's not I mean because DaCosta is does understand like the world here. I mean, she does understand what the characters are doing. She definitely is able to present that very well. I'm hoping at some point we do see DaCosta kind of much more in control of her work. I mean, I think that's sort of the issue that, she's been falling into, and that's not her fault. It's like the studios she's working for. I mean, it showed a lot with like, the Marvels because, she obviously didn't have a queer voice in those films. It's like, much more of a product for Disney than it was like her own personal piece. So I think she's certainly a way to like, bring her voice out there. Just hoping she can put it into something. Hoping she could have something where, there isn't so much, distrust with the studios that are producing the films. It's because I feel like she
yeah,
needs much more control. Well,
I'm just glad that they greenlit the third film,
mm-hmm.
because I think originally they said they weren't going to greenlight it until the second one came out, but they did before, which I'm so glad it did, because I think it also got reported that this past weekend it had a dramatic drop financially, probably because of the weather that we've had, but still
Yeah.
it had a very bad hold for the second weekend. So
Yeah.
I think if they didn't greenlight it beforehand, this probably would have not killed it entirely, but like really weakened the chances. But it's happening. They officially said it, so they got to follow through. So
Yeah, yeah. And they got it. I'm pretty sure they have enough trust, like, with Garland and Boyle. So it's like, they're not gonna I don't think there's gonna be a chance where they'll, completely stop this franchise from ever concluding. And obviously, like, January it's just a wasteland with a lot of films coming out, and especially the next one we're gonna talk about. But obviously it's tough because, the award contenders and of course Avatar is still in theaters, so it's like pretty much impacting the box office of a film like this. So, and hopefully when they get the next one out, they could probably have it at a better date like they did the first one. And being years later, not days later. But I think maybe a midsummer release at some point would maybe benefit it much better than a January release. Just because although January is like not a bad month to release a film like this, it's just you're going to be competing with the award contenders that just came out, and like I said, the blockbusters from at the end of the year.
It's refreshing that we actually had a good horror film release in January, though, because everything that gets released in January for the most part is just forgettable or just bad. Like
Yeah,
it's nice that we actually had something good to start the year off. And like I said, there are some people. I remember when it opened in its weekend, there were some articles saying like it's already the best movie of this year, which like duh, of course it is. But it's more in the context of like, will this have good holding? I think it will. I genuinely think this will not. I don't think top, but people are still going to talk about this when come the end of the year.
yeah, for sure. And I think it I mean, it deserves the attention. It definitely deserves the attention. So I guess I do have a few issues with the film. And I think a lot of them I think are pretty valid. I think the first is it's the lack it's the music choices, I guess. Although I do like the music is being chosen here. I mean, I do love Radiohead. I mean, I did like the fact that they played the opening of Kid A because that is a great album. But I think it's just like I don't mind the needle drop so much. I just kind of wish they still had young fathers composing the score because the score in the first like in 28 years later was really good because young fathers like really understood the assignment with it and it fit very well with the kinetic energy of the film. And obviously this film's much more like at a softer pace compared to the first. But I think Young Fathers would have been a better choice. Although I do, like I said, I don't mind having the Iron Maiden play or have a Radiohead play in the background. I mean, these are not bad needle drops. They don't feel like they're too out of place. But I part of me wishes there could have just been Young Fathers like in this film instead. Like just composing the score. I think the musical style like works. I think would have worked better with that.
I enjoyed the music. I think I just in general prefer the Days Later soundtrack. I just there's it's iconic at this point, especially for our generation. So in general, just the music was gonna. It's hard to compare. So I didn't really have much of a problem with it. It's more I will say in terms of the reception of this film, like it did exceptionally well, and I'm surprised that it did as well with audiences as compared to most horror films. Like the audience reception has been very high alongside the critics,
Mm,
which is nice considering how weird this movie is, for lack of better words. Like it's much slower paced, it's more melancholic, and given audiences, especially horror films, they just want to see the violence and stuff, and it really isn't like that. So it's almost an interesting case study of just like it's one of those cases where very good reception, but no one came back to see it the second time.
hmm
So yeah, I wonder.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's interesting.
yeah. I mean, for sure, and I'm, hopefully, like, it'll still get its traction because it is deserving of like the attention. Um, I guess my other issue is although I do like Spike as a character, and Alfie Williams is good. I mean, it's like I don't even know if it's him. I guess it's just that I do emotionally resonate with these characters, but I guess I just don't emotionally resonate as much as I did in the first film. Because I don't know, part of me just kind of felt like, Spike was much more of a blank slate in this film than he was in the last film. Because obviously more focus here is on the Jimmies and Dr. Kelson. So I think Spike is the kid still does well. I mean Alfie Williams definitely has a big future ahead of him, and he's a very talented young actor. But it's like I kind of wish I would have had more moments to like more of the moments I had in like the first film, from its character. Because I guess in this film it's like he doesn't have quite as much things to carry as he did in the last film. Which, and I guess in some cases benefits the films better, but I think I kind of wish I would have had much more emotional resonance. He does have his moments for sure. Like I do like this, the scene with the pregnant lady, which is very well done, and I do like his relationship with Jimmy Inc. at the end of the day. But it's doing everything so well, and I don't mind having a blank slate of a character in there, but I think there is a clear way to, I kind of wish there was a little more there.
I would check that up to the argument that this film is really more focused on Kelson and Jimmy Crystal. So I I mean, Spike's story was definitely that was the focus of years later, and this is more him coming to terms, which is like how cruel the world is, and I think what it's building up to in the third film will probably be more fully realized. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't particularly have that issue going in, or not going in when watching it, because it was pretty clear that it's like, okay, this is more about Kelson, which it was the opposite in the other one where Kelson wasn't in it all that much, so it almost balances out perfectly. So
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think just a little more emotional resonance can help because I think, it did very well, so well with like, Kelson's character, which, obviously is the big standalone favorite for this film. I guess I kind of want a little bit more there, but, still, I'm not upset. I think it's just a minor, it's being a little nitpicky because otherwise I think this is still very good. Want to talk spoilers?
talk spoilers. I mean, I was really the ending
Yeah, yeah,
is the big thing.
it's really the ending, but
Like, yeah, because
yeah.
well, I mean, well, there's two because I think the whole sequence with Kelson and like the Iron Maiden song
Mm-hmm.
is phenomenal. Like it's a phenomenally directed scene, very high energy. A lot of people are like getting into it, and then the I don't know if it was necessarily a spoil. Okay, so I don't know about you, but I knew spoilers by the way for Bone Temple. I knew that Cillian Murphy was gonna come back. Did you know that going in?
Uh, yeah, I knew that going in because it was already announced.
Yes. So I people were pissed online.
Yeah, it's like they announced it. He was on the IMDb list, and so I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna expect him at some point. But yeah, it's not until like the ending really. It's like because it's all after the Iron Maiden stuff, which that stuff's amazing. I mean, I think that's the although I complained a little bit about the needle drops in this film, that's like the best one.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Iron Maiden song fits in super well, and just Ray Fiennes is going completely like ham, and that whole sequence is amazing. I know a lot of people were thinking, oh, he's going to become, an alpha or, an infected, but no, it's just he's just clearly performance acting in this, and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really love that whole moment and just some good karmic justice for Sir Jimmy Crystal. Like that is a great moment. But yeah, I mean, I kind of knew Murphy was gonna be in in the film. I at some point, I don't think he was gonna, be in, have like a Marvel moment or whatever.
I
I'm glad they
I would
didn't
argue
do
this was also
that.
kind of a Marvel moment.
What?
The ending. I would argue him appearing at the end was a bit of a Marvel moment also, but and I don't mean that as a bad thing because this is one of the few times in a recent like legacy sequel reboot where they do something like that, and I was hyped. I'm like, oh, I'm excited for the third one now
Yeah.
because like these a follow up to 20 Days Later has been talked about for 20 plus years, especially with Killian coming back
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that it's actually going to happen. Like who knows where the story's gonna go? Like they might like totally surprise us or like pull something from beneath our feet. But the fact that they're teasing his return is exciting in and of itself. But and the nice thing about it is that it technically is a cliffhanger, but this story, the Bone Temple, is a full 3 act narrative that you can watch on your own.
Oh yeah.
Like there is a clear conclusion and resolution
Yeah.
to it,
Because
which is nice that they did it like that.
yeah, because I mean, it's unlike the Marvel films. It's like I don't think you need to do homework to like watch these films necessarily. Maybe a little bit of the first film. I honestly just avoid the second one altogether, just because I don't think it really impacts that much. I mean, it does add a little bit of world building, but it's not really that substantial. But with, these films, like generally speaking, you could probably like watch any of them and still get the context from like the films that came before. Although it
Totally,
is,
yeah.
so yeah, I think you could still like watch these, but yeah, I mean, I wasn't really bugged that Cillian Murphy came back. I kind of did like how he appears in the film. It's like sort of teaching his daughter like history. I guess there is sort of like an idea of like that, him and Naomi or his character obviously had a daughter. And there could, I mean, I don't know if it's implied at all if she died or she just went off elsewhere or whatever.
We'll wait and see. So
Yeah, because obviously like nothing's been confirmed with the sequel yet, and maybe they're trying to do something where they're hiding what happened to her character at the end of the day. But I'm really I kind of liked how it wasn't a bombastic return or like a return where it's like he just appears out of nowhere.
no, yeah, he's just like he's like in a house teaching
Uh,
his daughter, having tea. It's like he's just chilling.
Yeah, just chilling and I mean just like teaching like homeschooling her and just like oh yeah I mean I'm gonna be teaching you like history and just like yeah I mean I can't tell you much on the exam. It's like well you're my teacher. So I like
Well,
that moment.
it shows that like that warmth and humanity is still present if you like look for it, because like we just, especially after being just in this hellhole of a film for like an hour and 40 minutes, to have that be the ending is like really satisfying, to show like, oh, there are still good people out there even if we didn't know who this character was. Like it's reassuring in that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm pretty like happy about like how they use him here and just still let the rest of the film do its thing. Like it isn't like a film that's completely built. It doesn't build up his return in the sequel. It doesn't do that. It just, it's like, oh, he's back. Nice. It's like, yeah, it's it. I like that. It's very interesting. We didn't tap on it, but what did you think of Samson like in this film? Just
Oh,
like,
the
yeah, just
Callison's infected.
yeah, yeah,
That
like
was an interesting angle.
yeah.
Yeah, because they sort of hinted that in years later with Callison's like medicine and stuff, but you weren't sure if like, oh, is he being serious, or is he just sort of like, is it just all a facade? Because it also leans to that idea of like, who do you trust in this world? And the
Mm,
fact that he was like able to sort of tame the beast, I guess, was an interesting angle, which once again makes it more tragic that he dies. Spoiler.
mm-hmm.
It's just like, well, the cure is like not really. They have the cure, I guess, but they can't really act upon it.
It's gonna be interesting because I guess they're always sort of hinting at maybe Samson's just sort of developing, much more of his humanity back. And I mean, there are a lot of good moments like with him in this film, just by himself, just like sort of just wandering aimlessly, and then all of a sudden he's just having hints of like his past before the infection happened. Like I really like that. It's very somber in that way. Oh,
It shows that like everyone was affected by this scenario. Like the infected weren't born out of that necessarily. Well, I guess they talk about then years later with the one infected having a
mm,
baby, but still, it's like there was no one got off easy in this universe.
yeah, very much so. I mean, it's interesting, like how and like the whole idea of like Kelson sort of searching for that cure, and yeah, he finds it sort of like he I mean, and it'd be interesting to see how they sort of play into that in the sequel. I mean, obviously, Samson is obviously still going through like trying to find his humanity, get it back there, but I am very interested to see how they sort of build upon that in the sequel. It's gonna be interesting to see how this happens. But yeah, I really liked it. I mean, really happy about what they did with that character. Um, are there any other thoughts you have on this film?
No, not necessarily. I just think it's really solid. It's I was very satisfied, even though I think I still prefer the previous entry. It's nice to see that this was on par. I
Mhm.
would I would say. So yeah, good, really good January film. Not often you could say that.
Yeah, very much so. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I guess wanted a bit more, but then again, like obviously the rest of the, you know, franchise is going to continue. At least with the third film. I hope it doesn't, try to make this into a full blown like, franchise where they're trying to spin off like, the cab driver from the first film. Who knows? But I, that being Brendan Gleeson's character, but I think honestly this is definitely one of the better franchises or franchises out there. DaCosta clearly has a talent. I'm glad that she's directing a film that much better than the other films she's directed. I mean, I haven't seen has it Hada or Hada with Tessa Thompson? Um like I know
Oh
that
yeah.
came yeah, I know that came out last year, but I didn't watch it. But I did really enjoy like this film, and I'm excited for the next one. I'm really excited. I guess in a sense I give it an 8 out of 10. Four star.
I give it the same.
I think that's
So
kind
eight.
of where I'm par with. So very, very exciting. Okay, so we have one good January film, but we have a really another really
We
bad
have a great
one.
one.
Yeah, another really, really not so good one. And that is Mercy. I was telling Matthew before this, but I was trying to figure out how to pronounce the director's name, and I think it's like
I'm not
Timor.
convinced this film had a director. I'll be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah,
I just think they just made it up as they went along.
yeah, right. Just throw some this random guy under the bus here, but his name is Timur Bekmambetov. It's a Kazakh Russian name. I think we'll just call him Timur just so we don't end up botching any more names in the near
Yeah.
future. And yeah, he directed a film called Mercy, starring Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson. Basically, the whole thing is about this like cop who is put to trial by an AI judge for killing his wife and is trying to prove his innocence. You have an interesting story to tell, I know that.
Yeah. I mean, I was excited for this movie. Not for normal reasons because it looked really bad. I remember when I saw the trailer for it, I'm just like, this looks fake. This looks like one of the fake trailers that played before Tropic Thunder. God, how do I even start with the story? So okay, they do like the mystery movie screenings on Mondays, and last week I was peering through some forums and Reddit, and I noticed that the screen unseen for last week was going to be in an IMAX theater, and my thought was, okay, this has to be Mercy. So I went and saw Mercy, and it was. It was in the IMAX theater, in a legit IMAX theater too, mind you. This is the same theater where I saw Sinners and One Pal After Another on IMAX 70,
Was that the
and
Lincoln? Or
yeah, it was at the Lincoln Square IMAX.
um,
A very big IMAX theater too. So I think it's like this largest one in the country,
mm,
or maybe second. I don't know, but there's that. And then before the movie starts, like I noticed that in the by the entrance of the theater, there's like a light shining, and everyone was wondering like, is someone gonna like show up, like someone from the movie, like maybe Chris Pratt? And then they do the whole intro thing, and then yeah, Chris Pratt walks in. So Chris Pratt gave a surprise intro before this screening of Mercy, and he was clearly just doing the PR thing. I don't know how much he really cared about this film, to be honest. Like I assumed everyone involved just cashed the check and left, but yeah, he gave the intro, and then we watched the movie, and like wow, it was something. It's like not good.
yeah.
Um,
Uh,
yeah, I would say a good way to describe this film is that it's a more competent War of the Worlds 2025, yet that doesn't really say much. Like this movie is just absolute nonsense. It's weirdly pro AI and pro cop. I guess like watching it, it's like okay, Chris Pratt is just locked to a chair for 90 minutes basically, and he's going through basically he's framed for murdering his wife, and this is in the future of like 2028 or 2029 or something like that, where there's this AI court and you're allowed to dig through the evidence and files to prove your innocence, or else if you're not proven innocent within 90 minutes, you die. So it's like a Saw film mixed with War of the Worlds, I guess. And it's a screen life movie. It's like basically most of the movie is just Chris Pratt scrolling through files, contacting his family, and trying to uncover this mystery until it isn't at the end. And we'll talk about the ending later. But yeah, this was I thought it was funny. I don't know about you, but like I thought this was I had a good time watching it, even though it's like absolute garbage and I objectively it's terrible. But I kind of liked it.
Yeah, you had a better experience than I did. I think I walk into the theater and I think it's like probably 5 or 6 other people in there in this like giant theater. I didn't see it in IMAX. I just saw it in like, the 4K format that the laser at AMC. And it's like I'm like look at this and it's just like I am completely uninterested in everything going on, but I'm also very confused about everything going on too. Just because, and the thing I was glad about is that there was a timer on the corner of Rebecca Ferguson AI's screen,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was like
His
because
countdown.
I'm glad that they put that there because I just could not get through this film. It just was painfully average. Like, am I right? It's just really bad, honestly. Not even average. It's just, there is an idea there for AI. Like, there certainly is. Because, I think obviously we're in the era of, AI being a big deal. I mean, I think there are certainly a lot of uncertainties that are happening with it, especially in the film industry. I mean, it is a big threat to the creativity that a lot of filmmakers put into work. I mean, I was talking to a lot of like filmmakers down here, and they said the only thing they really use it for is to help storyboard. Like, they don't use it for anything else. They don't use it to like make their scripts. They don't use it to like do anything in post production because, that kills the creativity that people put into these like the films they want to make. And
Right, yeah.
you know it's like, and it's obviously studios, businesses, corporations are wanting to use it just because it's more assembly line, it's more product for them. And I guess like in a case like I guess it wants to try to like show the pros and cons of it, but it ends up being so misguided in how it presents it. And it's just like it's just not really engaging at all. I mean, it's engaging in how bad it is, like really engaging in how bad it is, but it's not engaging from like an AI point of view. I mean, I kept like thinking back to like Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, where where it uses like AI as like the villain, but it's sort of like showing like like there's certain things about this thing that we don't understand yet. So, and I can understand like people like that want to use it for certain like things. I mean, I sort of do love it how like do love how people just use it for this general AI slop just because like they just want to show how bad it is at making that stuff. But it's just like I just don't really get what stance is trying to take on this subject, but it ends up not working in the end. So
I think there is a very very minor potential in terms of making some sort of commentary on something. But it's clear that wasn't their goal. They just wanted to have a cool action film, which the action wasn't even good. The action sucked. Like
mhm.
because we're seeing this from Chris Pratt's perspective and all the action is done through like security camera footage or the drones, like you can barely see what's happening or like the handheld shots too. Like do you remember some of those when the cops are running
Yeah.
through like trying to get that one guy. Like I couldn't even tell what was happening. It was horrible. It was just lazy and sloppy. And the biggest thing I was thinking when watching it is just like, well, how is this? How am I seeing this in a theater? Like, say what you want about War of the Worlds 2025. I know that was initially intended for a theatrical release, but they ended up putting it on Amazon.
Mhm.
Like, it feels at home on streaming. This film does not deserve to be seen in a theater. I don't know why, especially in IMAX. Like they shot it with the IMAX certified cameras. So it wasn't full 1.43, it was 1.9, which
Hmm.
is still like more effort than most movies released in IMAX. They just release it. It was also in 3D. This is another thing I forgot to mention. I saw it in 3D as well, and the 3D was like not good. It was really bad, and I don't understand why they bothered because it's not if you're seeing Chris Pratt sit in a chair looking at screens. Like there's no dimension to that. It's all like flat. I could see what they were trying to do is like, oh, because the screens are floating around in his head, so they're like, oh, maybe it'll like pop out more at you, and then there's points where Chris Pratt is sort of in the environment of the pre-recorded footage, but the effect doesn't work. Like I was just sitting there watching, like, why do I even have the glasses on?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I can't the credit didn't see it in 3D, but just
No, it was a
being
waste.
at
Yeah,
points
waste.
like, yeah, it's save the money to see it in the standard format instead. But it's just like there's nothing that interesting here from just a theater point of view. Just because, for one, it's the thing about the desktop style of filmmaking, and it's just the nature of like Timur's like work. Apparently, he's been the reason why something like Unfriended exists because he produced it, and of course you have like a good one like Searching, which was probably the best of all the desktop films that have been out in the past decade or so. It's just like it's not interesting in a theater perspective just because like Chris Pratt is just sitting in a chair. He's not I mean, he doesn't really get out of that chair until like near the end of the film. So it's like half the time you're just relying on like screen grabs and stuff like that. And only funny thing I actually found is like in this film is the fact that the AI played by Rebecca Ferguson, instead of like using a government system or whatever, they're using Finder from the iOS systems.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, what? Why is there not like an internal system? It's the same thing with War of the Worlds, where like Ice Cube is using Spotify and like his own personal like applications on his Homeland Security desktop.
Yeah.
Like, there's not an internal program for this.
Yeah, like my dad works for the government. He's not all like you or used to work for the government. He's not retired, but it's like he used to like he didn't have any of that stuff on his work laptop because that's it's like technically you're not supposed to have that stuff on your work laptop like when you work for the government because that's like a breach of like security and stuff like that. And even then they don't even use iOS devices like most of the time. More of the time it's all PC.
Yeah,
But
actually,
it's
that's a good point.
yeah, so it's like it does. So it's like it's. I always like, why are they using the Finder app on this, and then they're using like Siri and the FaceTime stuff. It's weird to me. It's like it's it's hilarious. Like it doesn't end up being like a product for Apple devices like the way that War of the Worlds is for like all the other brands they feature in that film. But it's like it is so it is so interesting that like, oh,
It,
we
it
gotta put that in there.
it just makes no sense. It really doesn't. Like from from that perspective, it makes it seem like Apple had some sort of stake in this, but I don't think they did.
No, they didn't.
So they just didn't. What? Yeah, whatever. Then like I don't know why they did it. Yeah, can we talk about how stupidly this plot unravels? Because so Chris Pratt, he's accused of murdering his wife, and they show like the ring camera footage, and they also show like, oh, he has like an alcohol problem and stuff. But then it's later revealed that like, no, he actually didn't commit the crime. It was then it turns into this like drug conspiracy, like what, or
Yeah.
is like some biochem thing, and then that whole like, it's obvious that Chris Pratt didn't do it. Like they established that pretty early on. Like it's impossible for him to have committed the crime, even though his guilty rate barely goes down. So
Yeah.
dumb. Um, but then the whole like thesis of the film is abandoned within the halfway point, and that just hard cut or hard shifts to this biochem hazard. And it's like, where's this going?
Yeah, it's that's like And I don't know, I guess we could just jump into sports because it makes more sense. It just,
What's there to spoil in this movie? This
oh
I don't
yeah,
think there's
yeah,
anything to
there
spoil.
isn't, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Spoiler,
whatever. But
he gets out of the chair.
yeah, he gets out of the chair, but the thing that I was laughing about and so baffled by the end, he technically didn't solve like the murder at all.
Yeah, I
Like
was thinking the
they
same thing. Like, what?
yeah, they ended up like solving the murder of the guy who like, supposedly murdered Chris Pratt's wife. Um and it just like and it's just like technically like they just dismissed she like the AI dismisses the case despite the fact that the case isn't technically solved at all. Like the
Yeah,
only
so
they say
weird.
they do hint at like, okay, yeah, this, his work friend's the one that did it, but it's like it doesn't. It really is like so like it forgets that it's a murder storyline like halfway through. Like it forgets that.
Yeah, it's almost like they wanted to have the two stories of like, oh, we want to do like this biochem hazard like police mystery, but oh, we also want to have Chris Pratt like locked in a chair, accused. So it's like, how can we like do both of these storylines in one movie? And the movie's fairly short too, so
Oh, yeah, it's like,
they just sloppily mashed it together. I don't think the movie would have been that much better, but if it at least stuck to one, then it would have been like easy. It was surprisingly like just it was so incompetently structured.
yeah,
Like, oh my god.
I was like, this is just not a. It just doesn't make sense. There's so many plot holes in it, and it doesn't help that like the like desktop filmmaking just doesn't work to its advantage at all either.
No, it's really sloppily done. Like I wouldn't say I'm necessarily the biggest fan of that genre, but when it's done well, it can be really thrilling. Like Searching is probably the best example of the
Mhm.
desktop or the screen life film because it's super clever with how they use it. And it's not overly flashy, and I think the construction of it is what's really impressive. Like it's super well edited. This film is not well edited at all. It like bounces all over the place, and I think it also annoys me too that the climax, the last 10 minutes, they just totally abandoned the desktop format. Like, isn't the whole point of this to be desktop or something?
Yeah,
Like, hell, even War of the Worlds. Like, I can't believe I'm praising War of the Worlds, but like, at least that committed to the screen life format the entire time.
yeah, it's weird. Like it feels like it feels like it just wants to say something about AI and trying to configure it. It just doesn't work in that regard, and the filmmaking just doesn't help. Like Rebecca Ferguson, it's obviously just like phoning it in, but it's like the thing I always like laugh at in this film is like Rebecca Ferguson just like doing like the questionable look whenever like Chris Pratt is telling her something. And it's hilarious. Like it's hilarious like the way she just looks at the camera during this film. And it's just like what? It's
She's like sassy too in
yeah,
the
I can
movie at
obviously
points. It's
sassy.
like it's kind of funny.
Ends up being unintentionally like hilarious in that regard with just that one element just because like Rebecca Ferguson's obviously just doesn't care, and the thing is, like, I know why people like harp on Chris Pratt all the time. I don't think he's generally a bad actor. I know there's like, it's an actor people try to make controversial, but really isn't. I mean, yeah, the dude is very Catholic. He obviously has a lot of conservative leanings, and I know there was like an issue about like what the church he joined, like being anti LGBTQ. Um, but, it doesn't seems like the guy is pretty much a safe guy.
He's pretty normal. I would say. I
Yeah,
think
like there's nothing really that controversial about him. Because he seems like I mean, he's very media friendly. Like even if he's like, you know, conservative, it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, he's generally just media friendly. Just sort of he just picks movies that obviously like lean into that conservative demographic, which isn't a problem. I mean, there's certainly like a lot of movies that are that way, like Top Gun Maverick, certainly leans into that demographic too. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with that as long as like the quality of the film is okay. So, but I don't think there's really an issue with Chris Pratt as like a person or an actor. It just, I think he's capable for sure. I mean, very capable in giving good performances. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy is obviously a good example of like, using Chris Pratt right. I mean, even Jurassic World, like as bad as those films are, it's like they know how to use Chris Pratt in those films because he has enough charm and charisma to really carry a film. But it's just with this type of film and the recent type of films he's been in, it's just like they just take away all that charisma he usually has, and it's just like he's just looking so confused like throughout the entire film, like especially like in the film in the start of the film where he's in the chair and he's yelling. It's just like he is clearly not being directed right here because he's supposed to sound like lost in this film, but he's just like and sound like really shocked, but it's just like it's so misdirected, and just the way he reads those lines in that opening end up coming off incredibly like unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah,
It's weird.
I just don't I just don't buy a single thing that he's saying throughout the entire film. I think that's what it comes down to. It's also he's almost playing like a I think Chris Pratt he's almost going down like a rock type career like based on the roles he chooses. Like
Hmm.
he clearly was involved in this because like he's the good guy. He's the falsely accused man who is like very much for the law and all that. But it's like I don't buy him at all in this role because I don't sense even though he's trying to be like desperate and like trying to please innocent, it's like it's not convincing at all. Like and I maybe that's just more the direction, but it's like because I'm not like I like Chris Pratt as an actor. He's not like one of the best actors of all time or anything, but it's like he's given good performances, and this certainly just is not one of them.
I mean, it's like he's just getting typecast in these types of roles, and there could be a way that could work to the advantage. Like I think the I kind of compare him a lot to Jeremy Renner. Um,
Mm.
where Jeremy Renner is in a lot of these type of roles where he's either like sort of like the macho lead, or like the type of character that is like very stoic in a sense, or playing like the action star in some way. Been in a lot of roles like that in recent years. But I kind of like think back to like how Renner in The Hurt Locker, where Jamie Renner is playing that certain type of typecasted role, but there is so much of that type of performance that works for a film like that because it's very
Mm-hmm.
quiet, it's
Yeah.
very understated, it's very it kind of shows like in a sense that war is sort of like a drug in some way, and he's just sort of addicted to it. And so I could see a sense where Chris Pratt can maybe do a role like that in the near future. Because, I mean, obviously he's leaning more into those type of roles, and I don't have an issue with him leaning in those type of roles. I just wish it could be in a script or a movie that really works with that, really works with his performance, because this film just doesn't work with the performance at all. It's like, because he is so not good in this movie. Really
Yeah,
is not good.
it's a performance that's also is trying to play it serious, but it comes off as very comical. Like there were audible laughs in the
Mhm.
film during some of his line readings, which is not good. You don't like seeing that in a movie. I'm looking back to see. I'm just trying to retrace my steps with the plot of this movie. Um, yeah, the chase scenes, like
Yeah,
with the truck at the end, looked like GTA 4.
yeah, it looked
The
really.
the whole movie had like a GTA 4 type plot minus the AI. Like remove the AI out of it, it has the same energy.
Yeah, it's incredibly misguided, and it's just the editing just doesn't help at all because it's trying to stick to like that desktop gimmick, and it's just like it at the time. It's like you have so many things going on at screen all at once. It's just like it's hard to even get a gauge at what's going on. Like it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I would definitely not say the chase scene was good like at all, but I
No.
didn't think that was the worst part. I think the part when they're chasing the first suspect, where the other officers they have like the body
Yeah.
cam footage, that was like incomprehensible. I
Yeah.
had no idea what was happening. It was
Yeah.
so like it was like Jason the Bourne trilogy shaky cam,
Yeah, and it's
just
like
10 times worse.
relying on drone shots, and it's just like it's not that impressively shot, and it's just like it just doesn't work at all from that standpoint. It just really comes off super misguided in that attempt, and Chris Pratt is just sort of just sitting there yelling at the screen, and it's just like it's it comes off really confusing.
Yeah, this movie has $60 million budget, by the way,
60
which is
million for a desktop film?
yeah, yeah,
Dang.
crazy.
Yeah, that is.
It
I mean, I guess like I had to go to Chris Pratt in some way. But,
I mean, it clearly not to the special effects.
oh yeah, and part of the IMAX cameras, like those are not cheap.
I still don't understand. I literally don't. I don't understand why they opted for the big premium format. It's so weird.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't fit that at all.
no, it doesn't add anything either. Like so from memory, a lot of the IMAX footage was partially when they're in the Mercy Court and a lot of the digital stuff. But even then, there were some scenes where the aspect ratio changed to like standard widescreen.
yeah, like even
It just yeah, it didn't. They just didn't care, honestly.
like yeah, obviously it's not in standard format, but did it change like when say like got out of the courtroom?
I think it did actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because I saw the wider aspect ratio. But yeah, it's just so misguided. I mean, I guess at this point, is there potential? I'm not saying potential for a sequel because obviously this doesn't involve the film, but
no, please. I don't. Yeah.
is there potential for there to be any film out there or any filmmaker out there that could potentially deliver a film that does sort of lean into the AI commentary with, you know, how necessary trying to be pro AI or anti AI? Because obviously this film was trying to be both, but
I
you
think it
know,
was more pro AI.
yeah,
I know. I
it
know. At
was
the
more
end, they're
pro
just
AI.
like, well, spoilers. I guess like the Chris Pratt's partner, I guess, destroyed some evidence to prove that the Mercy program would actually be effective because they knew that it wasn't to be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
But you still implemented the program. You
Mm-hmm.
still had faith to do it. Like if you weren't confident, why would you go forward with it? And this world is basically run on AI. When I say this world, the world of the film. So it's they're adopting it. So they're pro AI in that regard.
Yeah.
So
And
I,
you know, it's just like I don't know, it's just like I think there is a way to get an idea out there about like, because I know there's like a lot of people out there that, are pro AI and I mean, I'm not pro AI. I think there's instances where it could be used for some things, but in a sense of like creativity and craftsmanship, I it should not be involved in any of those.
no, yeah.
Just because,
It,
I mean, well, I'm a photojournalist, and so it's like, when we're out in the field, we're against the idea of AI being used, like in anything, even editing. It's just like because we don't want to take away the naturalism of the photo or of the story being told. And so is there potential that something out there, like, at least from a film point of view, that could potentially like tackle AI, but not tackle it in a way where it's like this? I mean, obviously, Mission Impossible did it, but could there be a little more nuance, I guess, in this topic?
I think there's definitely the the potential to do it. You just have to have a good writer and a good director to
Yeah.
do it. Um, I honestly, this is gonna sound so ridiculous, but it's honestly true. The Wallace and Gromit movie from last year, that was a more subtle and intricate commentary on AI than this piece of garbage. That was clearly not for AI, but like the way they implemented that commentary and with the gnome character was like, oh, you're actually like saying something, sort of like talking about the artifice of it and how we're using AI to rely on the most basic normal human tasks, and that should not be the case. And yeah, I mean, at this point, we've come to, I don't know about you, but I've come to accept that AI is always going to be around, and it always has been around, even before this whole debate. Like Siri, for example, that's AI. So,
It's non-generative AI, so it's like, it can't do anything beyond its capabilities. And obviously just like,
right.
I think there's a case like right now where it's like, a lot of people are using it, and ChatGPT has obviously been a very big influence in that. I mean, it used to be like we would use ChatGPT just to make fun of certain things, but we're after realizing it's like, oh yeah, it it's only basic. Like it tells you basic things that you know anybody else would tell you, and its capabilities like human touch to it. I mean, I recently like been going through all the Stanley Kubrick films, and I recently watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, and the thing like I noticed in like that film, and obviously it could lead to future discussion in a potential future episode, but
Mm-hmm.
there is a they're talking about the HAL 9000. When they introduced the HAL 9000, it's trying to act human in the same way that the human characters are acting, but it doesn't have like the human touch to it at all, because it's clearly trying to emulate humanity in some way where it understands it, but it just can't be it. And I guess like it's the case with like any type of AI out there. It clearly does have the capabilities to understand simple human things based off of research and studies and stuff like that. It doesn't understand human emotion. It doesn't understand like why we have hunches, which this film does sort of tap into a little bit, where it's like Chris Pratt's like I have a hunch, and it's like she's like, how how do you not how do you have a hunch or whatever. And obviously it just did it very badly, and just didn't even talk about it at all. But it. So I think there is like potential to talk about AI in a certain way, and obviously it's already been talked about for years. I mean, obviously 2001 was probably the first, in some respects, that even introduced the idea of the topic in science fiction. But it's gonna be interesting like how there could be like potential films in the future that tackle the subject, but in a way that could be nuanced. I mean, obviously there's been good examples, like you mentioned Wallace and Gromit, but question is there going to be a point where we discover much more about it that could potentially lead to the pros? But I don't know, I just don't see it.
Yeah. It could also just be the fact that this film probably was in production a few years ago. So AI has changed drastically even within 2 years. It could just be that, but I still don't think that changes the fact that it's just a poorly made movie all around. It doesn't matter if the commentary is quote dated. In all fairness, I don't think this movie was necessarily trying to be a commentary on anything. Like I just saw it as a funny backdrop. It thinks it's complex, but it isn't like at all. And that kind of for me that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, I could see why you thought this was like some really deep insightful commentary, but really you're not saying anything."
Yeah, it really just says a lot of things, but it ends up saying nothing. It wants to examine it, but it feels like it just does, like the filmmakers just don't know what side to pick, and it ends up unintentionally picking the pro side of AI at the end of the day, and be
Yeah.
and yeah, it does pick out its flaws, but it doesn't necessarily do anything in a way that feels like earned in the scope of the story, and the story itself just doesn't know how to implement it, because it's trying to bring AI on this crime mystery, but it says a lot, but ends up saying very little about the topic at the end of the day.
Yeah. As soon as you say we're bringing AI onto our criminal justice department, then you got some problems. I don't think you're not anti AI at that point.
Have Grok as a judge.
What else is there to say? This
Yeah,
sucked.
I don't
It
know.
wasn't good
I
at
think,
all.
I mean, it's a misguided film. There could potentially be more nuance to the topic involving AI. Mercy obviously just doesn't have an answer to it at all. I mean, it's directed very sloppily, it's acted very poorly. It's not good. Um, so probably just one half star maybe.
I give it a 2 out of 10. I think that's pretty much as fair as I could be. Like the reason why it's not a one because it like it's really bad, but I've seen a lot worse. Like especially if we're comparing this to War of the Worlds, this looks like Tokyo Story, honestly. And it was also kind of funny. Like I don't regret watching it. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess like I sort of regret it, but it's like it's something that just doesn't leave an impact on me. It's kind of funny when you're going through my Letterboxd right now. There's only 3 films on there. This is already at the bottom, and Bone Temple's at the top. The
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
Disneyland documentary is in the middle.
I'm pretty confident this is going to be in our bottom tens by the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah, probably. I
I
don't.
don't think it'll be the worst though. We're
Oh
gonna have
yeah,
some like
I'm pretty sure they'll
we'll
be.
probably have something really foul this coming up.
We got Moana.
Yeah, that might be worse.
Yeah,
Who knows?
it might be worse. I mean, the trailer does not look good. It just does not look good. All right. Well, with that being the end of the discussion here on Mercy, we now have our very, very first host recommendation for the next episode. We'll be talking about that in about 2 weeks or so. Um, but Mr. You got a rec?
Yeah, so I have the honor of being the first one, which was stressful because it's just like, okay, what do I choose then? And I went back and forth, and I decided to choose a film that I know you also really love. And when I really sat and thought about it, I was like, I think this would be a really great discussion, and that is Fantasia,
Oh,
1940.
oh,
So
starting out strong here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought I was debating like, oh, do I want to do a new film? Do I want to do a classic or maybe even something bad? I was like, no, let's start off with something good. So, and I know we both have a lot to say about it, so
Oh yeah.
it'll be a good one.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I mean, and probably bring some interesting discussion about the current state of the company that released it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
so
for sure.
good. All right, well, that's gonna close things out here on Cinema Boulevard. At some point, may happen before we get this released or after we get this released, but we're gonna have some social media. We're gonna have an Instagram. We're gonna have a letterbox, maybe Twitter. Get involved in the fun nature of the bipolar social media stepchild that is Twitter. And but yeah, I mean, in the meantime, if it's not up yet, got a letterbox, of course.
Yep.
I do have an Instagram. Most of the time it's my photojournalism stuff, but you know, still good follow. See some good photos. Um, but yeah, and I also got Twitter as well. We'll put those in the description at the bottom.
Yeah, we'll be in the description. So
Yeah. And be sure to watch Fantasia before the next episode, where we're sure we'll be talking about some other releases. We just haven't decided on what we wanted to talk about next.
yeah,
But in other words, like, hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
yeah. This is a good discussion. See, see ya.
See ya.